Good evening. The April 17th, 2024 regular meeting of the Planning Commission will come to order at 6:31 p.m. Please rise and follow Commissioner Morales in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please face the flag, right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
May I have the Planning Commission Secretary, Rhea, please call roll.
Commissioner Lujan,
Present.
Commissioner Sakali. Here. Commissioner Morales,
Present.
Vice Chair Guerra, excused, and Chair Uva.
Present. Now is the time set aside for oral communications from the Planning Commission. Does any commissioner wish to make an announcement, report on a conference, a meeting, or request items for a future agenda? We'll start with Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I did have a few items, but given that we have a big audience today, I'm going to skip those to the next meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Saikali?
None, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Lujan?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. And I have none either. I just want to make a comment. I've been getting over a bad cold, so my voice is kind of scratchy and shaky, and you may see me pop a lozenge in my mouth. Just wanted to say that so you knew what was going on with me. Presentations.
We have none today,
Okay,
Madam
great.
Chair.
Does the Community Development Director have a report on a City Council action item or any other general update?
I don't today, thank you.
Okay, great. Public hearings. Now is the time set aside for the public hearing for PLN 23-00035, a general plan amendment, a zone change, a site plan review, a tentative tract map, density bonus for a housing development project located at 7360 Foster Bridge Boulevard in Downey. Does the staff have proof of publication?
Yes.
Okay. Will the Community Development Director introduce the staff making the presentation tonight?
Madam Chair, tonight we have Alfonso Hernandez, our Principal Planner, presenting tonight's item.
Thank you, Rhea. Good evening, Chair Uva, members of the Planning Commission. For your consideration today, we will be discussing a proposal for a new residential development. Specifically, the application is a request for a general plan amendment, zone change, site plan review, tentative tract map, density bonus, and CEQA, a mitigated negative declaration. The applicant is Stephen Armanino, a representative of the Olson Company. Specifically, the application is a request to construct 33 townhomes. The project includes 30 units allowed per the Downey Municipal Code and 3 additional units allowed per state density bonus law. The 3 units will be sold at an affordability level of moderate income. This is a more in-depth breakdown of the different permits, and later in the presentation, we'll dive deeper into these permits. But for now, we have a request for a general plan amendment to modify the general plan designation from low density residential to medium density residential. Second, there is a request for a zone change to modify the existing zoning from single family R1 to multifamily R3. Sorry, I skipped over. Next is a site plan review to analyze the design of the structures, the layout of the site, compliance with applicable municipal codes and state laws, and such as density bonus. Next is the tentative tract map which is required in order for the lots to be established and split up into townhomes. And lastly is the CEQA environmental review, which is a mitigated negative declaration. Before we get into the application types, here is some background. The site is a total of 1.35 acres. It is located towards the northwest part of the city at the northwest corner of the Suva Street, Bluff Road, and Foster Bridge Boulevard intersection, and also near the Rio Hondo River and the Treasure Island Park. The existing use is a church. There's one building on site, which is a total of 8,489 square feet. The structure was constructed in 1959, and no major renovations have taken place since that time. Here's an aerial of the site and surrounding area. Surrounding uses include single-family homes, vastly single-family homes to the north and east. There is light industrial self-storage to the west and non-conforming multifamily to the south. Here's a separate aerial to provide an additional view. And here is an image from the intersection. As previously mentioned, the application involves a general plan amendment. The site is currently designated as low-density residential, which currently would allow for 1 unit if everything remained as is. An amendment would allow multifamily construction on the site at a density of 24 units per acre, or in this case, 30 units. Here is the general plan as it currently looks like on the left. Again, that's low-density residential, and to the right is the requested amendment, which will be medium-density residential. Along with the general plan is also a zone change to modify the zoning from R1 single-family to R30 multifamily ownership. The R30 is one of the corresponding zonings for the medium-density residential. The R30 exclusively allows for-sale units rather than apartments. And the zone change further facilitates the construction of multifamily development. To the left is the existing zoning on the site. Again, it's R1. And to the right is the corresponding R30, which it's being requested. As part of the findings for approving a general plan amendment or a zone change, we check for consistency with the city's general plan. The following summarized policies are found to be promoted by the project. Policies such as encouraging a variety of housing, meeting the city's regional housing needs assessment, on encouraging affordable housing, using underutilized sites, identifying sites to accommodate population growth, and promoting home ownership. Taking a deeper look into the city's housing element, the city of Downey was provided with a regional housing needs assessment unit number of 6,525, or better known as RHNA. Briefly, RHNA is the number of housing units that the state has determined that needs to be built within the next 8 years to fulfill current and future housing needs. The 6,000 figure is what Downey is responsible for. Specifically, the city is not responsible for constructing the units. They're more so responsible for planning the units and establishing a framework within our codes and policies to allow for units. So this is where the site's inventory comes into play. The site's inventory are parcels identified in the housing element that will have modifications made to them to facilitate housing on those sites. The city has identified lots that would plan for the RHNA, that 6,000 figure I just mentioned, as well as provide a surplus of an additional 546 units. For reference, the subject site that we're talking about today is not part of the site inventory and was not identified as a need to fulfill those RHNA numbers. With that being said, we should also talk about no net loss. No net loss means that if one of the inventory sites chooses to not build housing, then the city would be tasked with locating a different site to accommodate the housing that would have been built there. For reference, this is not the case for this site. However, if one of the sites that is in the site's inventory selected to not build the housing, then the city would be tasked with finding a different site. So in the future, it may be very well considered the site would be considered for one of the inventories, but ultimately that's up to the decision and the discretion of the Planning Commission and the City Council. Moving over to the site plan review application, here's a rendering of the project. This is an illustration of the buildings facing Foster Ridge Boulevard. Here's an illustration of the buildings facing Suba Street. I would like to point out in both of the images, the landscaping is scaled down but not accurate. The reason why we scaled it down is so that we could see the buildings in the renderings. Other request is for the construction of 33 townhomes. The 33 units are divided into 4 separate buildings. Each structure is 3 stories tall. The dwelling sizes within those structures range from 1,188 square feet to 1,792 square feet. Each dwelling has a 2-car garage and either a private patio or balcony. The landscaping for the site will total 7,766 square feet, and in total there will be 71 parking spaces. 66 are located within garages, so it's 2 per unit, and 5 guest parking spaces open on site. Here is the site plan showing the site layout. As I mentioned, there are 4 buildings, with one of them fronting Foster Bridge Boulevard, which is the structure to the right here. And then the other facing Suva Street, which is the structure to the left bottom here for reference. As I mentioned, the units range in size from 1,188 square feet to 1,792 square feet. Each of them will have 3 bedrooms and a total of 2.5 to 3.5 bathrooms. Here is the city's development standards compared to the project proposal. The last column indicates whether the project complies with the Downey Municipal Code. We will find that building height and 3 setbacks are not in compliance. However, this is allowed through state density bonus law, which is being exercised for this project. But first, we'll go through the development standards. Here is lot coverage. The maximum lot coverage allowed for the site is 50%. The project provides 41.77%, which is in compliance. Next is height, which is required at a maximum of 35 feet. The project proposes 37.5 feet. Sorry, I should rephrase that. That's 38.5 feet at a maximum. The heights vary, which will not be in compliance with the minimum, or the maximum rather, allowed in the code. Next is the front setback. The code requires a minimum of 15 feet. The project provides 12.75 feet. Next is the rear setback. The requirement is 46 feet minimum. The project proposes 37.5 feet. Next is the street side, which would be Foster Bridge Road. The requirement is 7.5 feet. The project proposes exactly 7.5 feet. And lastly, we have the side setback, which is a minimum of 10 feet. The project proposes 5, which is not in compliance. Sorry, take a break. Thank you. So next, a separate part of the city standards is the inclusionary housing ordinance. An inclusionary housing ordinance was approved in April of 2022 and is applicable to all residential projects that propose 10 or more units. I should also mention that this is the first project subject to the city's inclusionary housing ordinance. The ordinance requires that all projects designate 10% of the proposed units to moderate income, deed-restricted housing. For this project, the requirement would be 4. However, because of allowances in the state density bonus law, the requirement is reduced to 3.1 units. I will provide additional information and breakdown on that calculation and the density bonus unit and incentives that are allowed there. However, for the inclusionary housing, this application, the applicants are allowed to either build or pay an in lieu fee for those units or a combination of both. For the project, the applicant has decided to build 3 units and pay an in lieu fee of 1/10 of a unit. That fee is $26,341. The in lieu fee goes into a fund so the city could at some point construct affordable housing units. And lastly, the 3 units that are being built they are deed restricted for a total of 55 years. The applicant is requesting an approval of a density bonus. This increases the site's allowed density from 30 units to 33 units. The exact density bonus is 5% increase to the amount of units allowed per the code, because the project is providing 10% moderate income. And when doing the math, everybody may notice that 5% increase only equals 2 extra units. However, the density bonus law requires that any fractional number be rounded up. Therefore, the city's baseline density of 30.83 is added, or is rounded up to 31, accounting for that 30 unit. A density bonus law also allows the applicant to request concessions and waivers, which we'll touch on the next slides. Starting with concessions, a concession is an incentive given to developers to encourage affordable housing development. The request can be a deviation from any part of the municipal code that the applicant deems is a financial constraint to the project. In this case, the applicant has requested to deviate from the inclusionary housing requirement to round up the required units to the next whole number. So instead, as I was mentioning previously, instead of the requirement being 4 units, the applicant may now revert back to the base of 3.1. And again, for reference, they are choosing to build 3 units and pay an in lieu fee for that 1/10 of a unit, which again is $26,341. In addition to concessions, the project is also allowed waivers, again, incentives for developers to build affordable housing. Waivers are deviations from the code that provide physical constraints to a project. The first waiver is a deviation for how the city determines density. Per our code, the density is determined by lot size, but the net lot size, not the gross. Because there's an easement on the property, there's a difference between the net and the gross. We will be using the gross per the waiver, and that increases their density from 32 after the bonus to 33 after the bonus. Next is the deviation from the setbacks. First, the front setback, as I previously mentioned, is not in compliance. The requirement is 15 feet, but the project proposes 12.75 feet to 14.25 feet. Next is the rear setback, as previously mentioned, is required at 46 feet. The waiver allows for that to be reduced to 37.5 feet. Next is the side setback. The requirement is 10 feet. The waiver will allow for 5 feet. Next is the height. Per the code, the project should not be built over 35 feet tall, but the waiver allows for 38.5 feet tall. Next, the code requires garages to provide 2 parking spaces side by side. There's a waiver request for that to be in tandem, one in front of the other, for 15 out of the 33 units. Lastly, private open space is required in either a balcony or a patio, and the dimensions must be a minimum of 10 by 10. The dimensions for what's being provided vary and will not be in compliance with the code, but allowed through the waivers. Next is parking. Density bonus law also allows deviations from the city's parking requirements. Starting off with our requirements in the Downey Municipal Code, the project is required 83 spaces. The density bonus allows for a minimum of 49.5 spaces. The project's providing 71. And again, that's 2 spaces in a garage per unit, which is a 66 in a garage, and 5 guest spaces throughout the site. The architectural style is Spanish, and materials and features are customary of the Spanish style. This includes stucco siding, white tones, clay tile roofing. Here is the elevation of the building frontage on Foster Bridge, fronting Foster Bridge. At the top is the front elevation facing the street, and at the bottom is the opposite side facing the interior with the garage openings. This building height is 38.5 feet. Here are the elevations facing Suva. At the top is the view from Suva, and at the bottom is the interior view. And this building height is 37.5 feet. Here are the elevations for one of the interior buildings, actually the middle interior building. The building height for this structure is 36 feet. Lastly, this is the most northern building. Here are the elevations, and that building height is 36.5 feet. Now on to landscaping and privacy. The project does comply with development standards for landscaping. Here we highlight some of the plants that would be placed on to enhance privacy. On the screen outlined in blue are perimeter plants. They can grow up to a height of 25 feet. However, our code requires that they maintain a height of 8 feet, but they will be built along the northern property line and the western property line throughout the site. Sorry. Second, through public comment, staff was made aware that there are concerns related to privacy along Foster Bridge for those properties in which their rear abuts the street. Outlined in red, there are a proposal of 11 separate trees to be placed in that area. These trees are Brisbane boxes and purple robes, which can grow to a height of 50 feet to 40 feet respectively. The diagram at the bottom right, and it's a bit hard to see for the public, but I'll try my best to point it out. Here are the structures for the site, and I'll do the left in a second too. Here are the trees that are being proposed, and that's the line of sight into the yards. Here is the walls for those properties, and here is the homes for those properties. And on this side, for everybody's reference, here are the development, the apartments, I'm sorry, not the apartments, the townhomes. Here are the trees being proposed. Here is the abutting site. Here is the wall for the abutting sites, and here are those trees that are being proposed. The diagram indicates that the trees may be effective in concealing the adjacent properties. At the top is a closer view of those tree placements. At the bottom is an additional proposal that the applicant submitted to staff. I believe there may have been conversations, and again, for reference, these are the abutting properties on Foster Bridge, closest to the property. There's conversations to enhance that property and plant trees there. However, staff does not know whether the residents are amenable to that, and nor is there a condition for that to be added to the property. Separate ideas for enhancing privacy and achieving privacy are providing screens at the third-story windows, such as frost glazing. Here's a tentative tract map showing the separate parcels to be established. The tentative tract map is required when the subdivision involves 5 or more parcels. Specifically, the map is required in order to establish those parcels and set different boundaries for common space such as driveways, paths, landscaping, and guest parking. And the Subdivision Map Act requires that these maps be sent to the school district, the local municipal water district, and Caltrans. The map is sent to them to provide comments if needed. Caltrans was the only agency to reply. They provided no comment. The others did not reply. Now discussing traffic impacts, or discussing the traffic impact analysis. One was conducted for the project to evaluate existing conditions and project impacts forecast for the project. Starting with existing conditions, the analysis evaluated 6 separate street segments. 4 street segments are directly near the subject site, and all measure at a level of service of acceptable because they have a grade of C or better, with the Suba Street segment between Bluff and Guatemala being the most congested with a grade of C. Level of service measures the volume of traffic compared to the capacity of the street segment that the street segment was designed for. Using the Suba Road segment between Bluff and Guatemala, for example. Using that street segment that's highlighted there, the Suba Road segment between Bluff and Guatemala, for example, we can see that the volume of traffic is 11,972 daily trips compared to a capacity of 15,000 trips. And it's closer than the others to that capacity, therefore that warrants a grade of C. The Paramount streets are there too. Those street segments are at a capacity of E, and primarily due to being major arterial connector streets. Those 2 segments, I should note, are either close to capacity or past capacity. In addition to analyzing the street segments, the traffic impact analysis also looked at intersections. The level of service grades for the nearby intersections were at acceptable levels. All but one intersection was at acceptable levels. The Suva and Guatemala intersection during peak hour periods, which is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., measured at level E. This slide discusses the projected impacts. The analysis shows that the level of service will remain the same due to the minimal amounts of daily trips generated by the project. The projected is anticipated to generate, the project, sorry, is anticipated to generate 222 daily trips. This is a net increase of 158 trips in comparison to what the church was generating. During the peak periods in the AM, there will be 13 vehicles during peak times. This is again between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And during PM peaks, which is 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., there will be 17 vehicles. Just to provide some context, this doesn't mean that within those time periods, it will only be 13 vehicles between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. Instead, what it means that within any 15-minute interval between those times, it is expected that the highest 15-minute interval will be 13. So for example, there may be 0 vehicles between 7 a.m. and 7:15, but 5 vehicles between 7:45 and 8 a.m., and a maximum of 13 vehicles between 8:30 and 8:45. Or again, between 8:45 and 9, there may be another 13 vehicles, but within every 15-minute segment within those two, there will be no maximum or project no maximum above 13. So just for reference, it's not saying that between those two, there will only be 13. And yeah, and again, the numbers I just tossed out there, for example. So moving on to public notice, the city notified residents and property owners within 500 feet, as well as outside agencies and all interested parties that provided their information. Notices were sent out on November 26, 2022, November 22, 2022 of 2023, when releasing the CEQA documents for public review. That process is known as the notice of intent. When the project was initially scheduled, a notice was sent out 15 days prior on February 8, 2024. A notice of continuance was sent out on February 15th to inform the public that a potential future date was oncoming and that a new notice would be sent out to the residents and interested parties and outside agencies when a meeting was scheduled. Those notices were sent via email and mail, and email for those that provided their email. On April 4th, 15 days prior to today, notices were again sent out via mail and email to those same parties. Lastly, staff posted public notices near the area. And here are those signs that we posted near the area. In terms of outreach, it was strongly suggested to the applicant that they host a community meeting. It was disclosed to staff that one was hosted in late March. Staff also suggested that the applicant post signs detailing the project at the site. The signs that were posted were by staff. And lastly, the applicant disclosed that they were doing canvassing in the neighborhood. Public comments have been provided at 2 separate planning commission meetings on February 7th and 21st. Staff has also received correspondence, met with people over the counter, over the phone. This slide attempts to best summarize all those comments provided. This summary is also found in the staff report. I won't read through them, but I'll pause for a second to let the public and the commission read through them. Thank you. As we've read, there are concerns related to traffic, and although staff's analysis finds that current traffic impacts in the area are pre-existing and will not be exacerbated by the project, there are still conditions of approval incorporated in an attempt to alleviate concerns. One example is condition number 71 of resolution, I'm sorry, the wrong condition number is up here, that would be 71. On 71 of resolution number 244025, the applicant will be responsible for installing a keep clear sign there on, for members of the public. Keep clear painting will be installed here. On this side, keep clear painting will be installed here in order to facilitate quicker vehicle access onto the site. Separately, condition number 73, which reads 72 on the screen, requires that the Suva Street driveway be used as a right turn exit only driveway. Previously, the driveway was only for emergency vehicles only. Previously, this meant that 80% of the traffic coming out of Foster Bridge driveway would be heading south, so coming out of here and heading to the intersection. On this side, coming out of here, heading to the intersection. The projection was at 80% of the vehicles on the site. Now allowing it to be a right turn only exit, that reduces that capacity at that intersection by 30%, potentially. Separately, staff proposes a new condition of approval, which is now condition number 62, in the new resolution presented to you at the dais. Again, that's resolution number 24-4025. The condition is to install a traffic signal preemption device at the intersection of Suva, Bluff, and Foster Bridge. The device recognizes when emergency vehicles are approaching and will turn green to keep the traffic flowing and to facilitate the movement of vehicles and the emergency vehicles. The new condition will read, the applicant shall be responsible for the cost of equipment and installation of a traffic signal preemption device at the Suva Street, Bluff Road, Foster Bridge Boulevard intersection signal in the amount of $6,000. The city or a contractor selected by the city shall be responsible for the installation of the device. This slide focuses on alternative housing development scenarios. On February 13th and February 27th, the applicant provided staff with a density analysis for different project types that may potentially be submitted, but I should note they are not. Those calculations are provided in detail and attachment out of the report. In addition, attachment N of your report is a peer review by an outside consultant to analyze those densities. In summary, the applicant states that under the current zoning, they can construct a total of 52 units using city codes and state laws for ADUs and SB9s. The outside consultant estimated that a total of 39 units are possible. Separately, there are recently passed state laws, such as SB4, that allows religious institutions to construct residential units on their sites. It is required that those projects be 100% affordable, which allows for even more density bonuses and the applicant believes that the site can accommodate, per again those laws, is 79 units. The consultant's peer review calculates 71 units. It should be noted that these numbers are all in theory. It may very well be the case that scenario 1 or 2 may be a bit less. Staff can't confirm without receiving those projects and analyzing those. Moving over to CEQA, the project, like all other projects that come before you, are subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. Most projects are typically exempt. In this case, the project underwent an initial study, and the findings of that study determined that the appropriate review would be a mitigated negative declaration, known as an M&D. This is because all foreseeable impacts can be mitigated to an extent of less than significant. These mitigations are outlined in the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, also known as the MMRP, and attached to resolution number 24-4024. Procedurally, the city, as the lead agency, complied with the provisions of CEQA, and here are some of those steps. The city reached out to multiple Native American tribes that have previously requested notification. The Gabrielino Keys Nation responded and requested consultation. Their conditions for the project are incorporated into the MMRP. The city then filed a notice of intent notifying the public and outside agencies of the intended project. 2 letters were received and provided in your report as Exhibit A of the M&D. And lastly, the M&D is here presented for you today. CEQA outlines the categories of environmental impacts that need to be reviewed. Among those categories, the following have been found to produce no impacts or less than significant impacts. These may be deemed to provide no impacts because resources were not found on the site, such as forestry and agriculture. There would be no agriculture there or trees, etc. And then also, for some pollutants that are generated on the site, those pollutants are deemed to not pass thresholds established by those authorizing agencies. Moving on to other impacts, we'll take a bit longer on these. These are found to be less significant when mitigated. So for biological resources, that mitigation discusses monitoring nesting bird seasons and procedures to follow if bird nests are discovered on the site. For both cultural and tribal cultural resources, these mitigations determine what to do if artifacts and remains are found, and who is in charge of making those determinations if those artifacts are of significance. For geology and soil, the mitigations are concerned with finding fossils and things of that nature. For hazardous materials, it discusses inspecting for lead and asbestos prior to demolition and retaining the appropriate permits for removal. And then noise and aesthetic I'll cover in the next slide. The previous mitigations are very standard and typical of most projects that go through an M&D. Here are some that are unique to this project. For aesthetics, the mitigation attempts to ensure privacy is provided and light is blocked for the northern property closest to the site. The project proposes to install a hedge of height of 8 feet. Staff will determine if the plant and height is acceptable via inspections prior to issuing a building permit final, as stated in the mitigation measure. Next is noise. The mitigation requires that neighbors be notified a minimum of 2 weeks prior to the start of construction. In addition, during construction, an 8-foot tall temporary sound wall must be installed along the northern property line, again, abutting the closest residential property. In conclusion, on the screen is the project summary. For reference, once again, it is staff's opinion that all findings can be made in a positive manner. Staff is also available to assist the Planning Commission through its deliberation. It'd like to seek alternatives to staff's recommendation. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso, for your very thorough staff report. This hearing tonight has many components to it, and you laid it out so clearly. I hope that everyone in the audience can follow. It's very technical, but he outlined everything that we're going to be addressing tonight, and that was a very good report. Do any of my planning commissioners have questions of the staff regarding this report or his presentation? Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, I have one question. In regards to the IHO and the density bonus, I see two different numbers in the report and in the presentation. What's the correct number? I have one at 25,848 and one 26,341.
Yes, thank you for pointing out. The correct number is the 26,000 figure. The square footage was changed slightly, so it upped the number a bit. And we didn't catch it in the first time we mentioned the 25.
Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay, Commissioner Lujan.
On the housing, on the affordable housing, so it's actually 3 units or 4 units? That's for the RHNA.
It is 3 units that are being
units?
provided, yes.
And they're paying the difference in that 0.1?
So for the inclusionary housing, with the density bonus, they're required to provide 3.1 units. On in the inclusionary housing, they have the choice to either build those units or pay an in lieu fee for them. So they will be building 3 and paying the 0.1.
0.1. And is that yearly or is that just
So,
one time?
time.
26,000, one time?
Microphone. There you go.
For the 66 parking spaces with the 5 guest parking, total of 71. And you have, all these units are 3-bedroom units. What are you gonna do with the overflow? The overflow, what that means, what I'm trying to say is that there's a possibility that you may have 2 to 4 people living in this complex, and each unit may have 3 vehicles. So now you have 99 vehicles on the approximate. You have 66 parking spaces. That means that 33 is gonna park on the street. Where do you want them to park on the street?
Sure.
Through the chair, if I may, the question posed by Commissioner regarding potential overflow of parking is perhaps a matter for deliberation amongst the Planning Commission. What staff has presented are the Downey Municipal Code requirements versus the density bonus state law parking requirements, and then the third number, which is 71 parking spaces, is what the applicant is proposing, which exceeds what state density bonus allows. With regard to a further discussion about overflow, I would maybe reserve that for deliberation with the commissioners and also potentially questions for the applicant when that time comes. Thank you.
One more question. On your presentation, you mentioned, based on a traffic survey that showed the peak hour AM of 10 vehicles per hour.
I believe that's 13 vehicles. The net increase would be 10. So the church used to have 3 on PM peak. And just, sorry, was that sufficient?
Well, I'm trying to figure out, you mentioned AM 10 vehicles for AM peak hour and 13 vehicles PM peak hour. Is that correct?
Yes. Do you mind if we go back to the presentation? I could pop those numbers.
That's slides number 39.
Thank you, sir. Nope. Here we are. So on the project itself is 13 in the AM, 17 in the PM. On the net increase, because we're also accounting for what's there currently, is 10 and 13. So and just for reference, as I explained in the presentation, that doesn't mean between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., sorry, 7 a.m., 9 a.m., the 2-hour peak period, let's use AM as an example, that there will only be 13 vehicles for those 2 hours. It means that within any 15-minute interval within those 2 hours, which would be 8 intervals within those 2 hours, we don't expect within one of those 8 intervals that number will exceed 13. So in the first interval, it could be 5. In the second interval, it could be 0. In the third interval, it could be 3, or in the fourth interval, it could be 8. But at any interval, it won't be over 13. And also, we should consider that not every interval will be 13, because throughout the whole day, we expect 220, 22. 13 throughout the whole may take up all the 2022.
And do we know what day this was taken?
So they're projected numbers. So,
No, on the existing conditions, right?
well, the current.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I may be confused. You mean in terms of the existing conditions that are out there now?
Yes.
Yes, understood. I can defer to our consultant, Gandini Group, as our traffic engineer. They may be able to relay on what times those were, in exact days. If you give me a second, I probably looked for it as well.
And through the chair, we have our consultant related to the traffic study on call that can provide audio comment response to the commission's question. If there are any other traffic-related questions, maybe they can be asked now as well from the commission. So if there's anything else that the consultant would need to respond to, we can do it more efficiently.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Giancarlo Gandini, founding principal at Gandini Group, and we were responsible for preparation of the traffic analysis for this project. With regard to your question about the trip generation estimate for the existing church, both estimates for the existing church and for the proposed project were calculated using the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual, which is a standard industry reference that includes a database of trip generation rates for common land uses and then those trip generation rates are multiplied by the square footage or number of units for the existing and proposed uses in order to develop those trip generation estimates.
Anyone have questions?
I'm good for now.
I just have a really simple question. Is this customary in this industry to do it this way?
Yeah, the trip generation manual I referred to is more or less the go-to industry standard document for trip generation calculations.
Okay, and those calculations are based on 15-minute intervals, as Alfonso said in his report?
The trip generation rates are developed from surveys of the various land uses or land use categories, and they're based on surveys conducted at actual developments throughout the country. The rates are then reported by AM peak hour, PM peak hour, and daily are the most common time periods, and typically the typical time periods that are evaluated in traffic studies. So the AM peak hour, what that refers to would be the peak 1 hour period during the morning commute time. Typically that occurs between 7 o'clock a.m. and 9 o'clock a.m. As people, wake up in the morning and head off to work. In the evening, that would be between 4 and 6 p.m. Typically, there's a 1 hour period in between there where the surrounding streets experience the most congestion, and so that's the reason for the focus on those analysis periods. So AM peak hour again would be a 1 hour period, sometime between 7 and 9 a.m. The existing traffic on the surrounding streets is we count. We go out and we do a trip count between 7 and 9 a.m. and then with that data, we're able to identify the specific hour for the surrounding streets. For the existing and the proposed land uses on the project site, those are developed from the trip rates from the trip generation manual.
Okay. You commented that it's nationwide. I would think that East Coast residents would have more of subway use and other means to get to and from work. Does it make a difference when we're in California when you're using a nationwide method of calculating this?
The latest version of the trip generation manual does separate different categories of kind of the environmental context. So for example, there's the current rates that we're using in this analysis are based on suburban developments. And so specifically, those would be surveys that were taken at typical suburban developments, not close to, they wouldn't have access to subways or those sort of high quality transit that you're describing that you might see in other more dense urban. There's a separate set of trip generation rates for downtowns and urban areas.
Okay. That concludes my questions. Does anyone else have a question that may have popped in their mind?
Yeah, so did you guys come out to the site where it's proposed the project and then put like one of those trip markers at any time?
The existing volumes for the roadways and the study intersections in the vicinity of the project site, those were measured. Nowadays, most commonly, those are done with video cameras, and they're able to count how many vehicles maybe turned left, went straight, or turned right. So that was the existing conditions for the streets and intersections that were evaluated. Those are based on actual measurements.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one more question, if I may, to the TE. Can you go back to that slide one more time, please?
Of course.
Was there any study done on Suva from Foster Road, Foster Bridge Boulevard to Guatemala?
Give me 1 minute, I'm just looking this up on the map here. Suva from Foster Bridge to Guatemala.
So just for reference, if I could chime in, I believe the one highlighted is Suva Street, and it's highlighting the segment from Bluff to Guatemala, which would be the bridge and that space in between on Suva.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's effectively that same segment that you described.
no, my question is, on Suva, vehicle traveling on Foster Bridge Boulevard onto Guatemala, taking Suva, not from Bluff Road.
It's Suva Street between Bluff and Guatemala. The intersection of Foster Bridge connects to that intersection. It's a 5-way intersection of Suva Street, Foster Bridge, and Bluff Road. So that would be the Bluff Road and Foster Bridge. That would be the westerly end of Suva Street, and then Guatemala Avenue would be the easterly end of that segment of Suva. So Suva between Foster Bridge and Guatemala.
Well,
That was the segment that was outlined in red on the previous slide there.
I believe Commissioner Sacale, but you may be referring to the last row. So Foster Bridge would start at Bluff and Suva, and then so north of that is everything on Foster Bridge, which would be the last row.
If I may, through the chair, does Commissioner Saikali need additional clarification on his question?
Yes.
Okay, I can have our Public Works Director and our Deputy Director of Public Works provide additional insight with regard to the methodology used for the traffic impact analysis. Just as a brief overview, there were some key intersections that provided background information for determining the level of service and assessing whether or not this project would have a significant impact to the area. The intersections that were considered in the study, and I know they can elaborate in a little bit more detail, were Foster Bridge Road and Suva Street and Bluff Road, Suva and Scout, Suva Street and Guatemala Avenue. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director. He's sitting at to the right of the dais, so I think it's a little hard to see, but thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, and just if I'm understanding your question correctly, Commissioner Saikali, the area that was highlighted in red that you were interested in from Foster Bridge to Guatemala was studied. So that is the section that you're referring to. So that is included in the study, is one of the areas that was looked at.
Thank you.
Okay. No more questions? All right, so I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, the gentleman on the phone, but thank you. We appreciate you answering the questions. Okay, Alfonso, you know me, I have questions.
Oh, sorry.
I'm kind of going to go back a little bit to the beginning of your report. The housing element requires, the city, every city, and it's throughout the state of California, that they have to build a certain number of homes. Ours is 6,525. Do you know how many homes to date we've built for that goal? If you don't know, that's okay. I thought maybe you would know off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, no, but it is in your report, so we can look that up really quick.
Okay. I think the number is pretty low, right?
Sorry.
Through the chair, I can help. On page 6 of the staff report, which relates to the general plan consistency, staff indicates that to date, there has been a creation of 17 market rate housing units and not including ADUs.
And ADUs cannot be included in that, right?
ADUs can be included.
Okay, got it. Part of our report today deals with inclusionary housing ordinance, density bonuses, concessions, and waivers. This inclusionary housing ordinance, is it something it's first time we're dealing with it, but is it something that's new?
Yes, it was approved in, I believe, I recall April of 2022.
Okay, so very recently, okay.
And then yes.
So the applicant, am I correct in stating this? The applicant has satisfied the requirements in each of these areas and/or is paying a fee to satisfy that requirement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So some of these deal with setbacks, building height, parking, affordable housing. Is it true also that we as a commission, like we normally can, recommend to the applicant to alter or to change something, but on these specific waivers and things, we cannot touch them. They're like set in stone.
You can definitely ask. That's within your purview to ask. But in order for you to deny it, there are a series of findings within the state law that you would need to meet. So
Okay.
the applicant does have the privilege or right to build under those waivers. You
Okay.
could definitely ask for modification.
Okay, got it. I appreciate the fact that you brought up the proposed, the Sagecrest analysis, that the property could be divided into 13 parcels, and each parcel could have a primary unit, an ADU, and a junior ADU for approximately a total of 39 units. And that would be 6 more than what we're dealing with here. So I appreciate that you brought that up and so that the public can hear that. In our report, there was mention of, on April 15th, 2 days ago, that a traffic signal timing was going to be put at Suva and Bluff, and it was supposed to have changed to accommodate approximately 14 extra vehicles to pass during any cycle. Do you know if this was done?
It was done.
It was done, okay. Have you had any, I know it's only been 2 days, but have you had any public comments, calls, or questions, residents commenting that they've noticed a difference with that extra allotted time?
Specific to that, no, we have not received comments.
It's probably too soon. Well, hopefully the individuals, when they come up tonight, if they are aware of that happened, maybe they can comment that they've noticed a difference, yes or no. Our report says that a traffic signal is on target for a full upgrade within the next 2 to 5 years for that area. And it would include traffic and pedestrian signal heads, safety lights, et cetera. If this project goes forward, is there any way, and glad Public Works is here tonight, is there any way that Public Works could make this project a priority over others to facilitate a safer intersection?
Sure. I'll go ahead and defer to our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Chair Uva, for your question. Yes, it is actually, it's in our priority list of intersections where we have signal improvements planned. It's in our prioritized list right now, so it is. We can say that is in the plans, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that. The staff report indicated that the city encouraged the applicant to have a community meeting and that the applicant preferred to do door-to-door reach-outs. You indicated tonight that there was a community meeting that was held in late March. Was our staff given a summary of what happened at that meeting? I know nobody was there, but were you giving any kind of feedback from the applicant as to what happened?
A meeting was held with the applicant where they disclosed some information, but I prefer to defer the applicant in terms of what occurred at that meeting.
Okay, great. I would also like to thank the city staff for putting up those large size posters at the property. We as a commission, we really believe that as much notice as possible to the community is really what's needed. Sometimes people don't open their mail in a timely manner, so I think having those signs up as they're driving to and from home, I think that was great to put those signs up, and I thank you for that. Also, I just want to clarify that whatever happens tonight, whether yes or no, goes forward or not, it's still subject to the city council approving this, right?
Yes, we are recommending all resolutions to the city council.
Okay, perfect. That concludes my questions.
If I could add for the reference for the public and the commission, in terms of the density analysis, that was provided in response to applicants' submittal of a density analysis, and we were just checking for the accuracy of that.
Okay. Thank you, Alfonso. Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or their representative to come forward, This would be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits, any pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, I did meet with the applicant on one occasion at my office, and it's on. Everybody hear me? Yeah, I did meet the applicant one time. I did also speak with him on the phone. Basically, just to talk about the project itself, not to go into too much detail, just to hear an update what they were doing with the project and any comment they had regarding the meetings with the door-to-door canvassing with the residents in the area.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Lujan?
I had none. No
Okay.
contact or anything.
Commissioner Saikali? None? Okay. And I have none either, other than just driving to the site on different times of the day to get a feel for what that intersection is like and the timing of the lights and how it, if and when it backs up, that kind of is all I did. I didn't get out of my car.
Actually, I'd like to add something if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, I took a trip down to that area where the new development is going to be. It was on a Friday afternoon, approximately 4:30, 5 o'clock or so. And coming up on Guatemala, because I live not that far away from it, and it took me a while just to get to Suva. So I was wondering what is going on with the traffic. So I pulled over to the side and Suva and start videotaping the traffic. And I've noticed that a lot of these vehicles are being stored or backed from Guatemala all the way back to the bridge. And it took a while for this traffic to clear, one car after another, one car after another. And I couldn't figure out what was happening until I actually went down and took a walk and watched these cars. Because on Guatemala and Suva, you have a four-way stop sign. And this four-way stop sign basically hindering all this traffic operation. The traffic signal is working fine. When vehicles are traveling on Suva towards Guatemala, they have to wait on the stop sign, which is the four-way stop sign, to wait for everybody in each corner to travel and pass and keep going on Suva. Well, what that happens is the traffic was backing up all the way to the bridge, to the beginning of the bridge. And it took a while, I stood there for like 20 minutes watching this traffic come and go all the time. So what I've noticed is this: the traffic signal was working fine. The problem is not with the traffic signal, the problem is with Guatemala and Suva intersection. So there's two possibilities where we can solve this issue, the traffic issue. Of course, with the study from the Public Works Department, two options. One option is to install the traffic signal, synchronize it with an intersection at the development. That can be quite a bit expensive. The second option, have a two-way stop sign. Don't put a stop sign on Suva.
Madam
Just
Chair,
put it
if I
on
may-
Guatemala.
may, Commissioner, I think you're
Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
discussing more deliberation type
I
items.
think we should bring this up during deliberation.
Okay,
Is that okay?
sure.
Don't lose your train of thought.
One more
Try
thing,
not to.
Madam Chair, if I may, I forgot to mention, I did visit the site just by coincidence. I drive by there every day coming back from the office, and just coincidence, I did get off my vehicle, and I did notice all the traffic, and during that time, I don't know if it was just coincidence, but I did notice an ambulance when they get through, and it couldn't get through because of the traffic.
Wow, okay.
And everybody had to back up, move around, and so forth. Finally, the ambulance got through over the bridge, but it was kind of a challenge, but so make that note.
Okay. Okay. The public hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward to give testimony? I understand that the applicant has a PowerPoint presentation to show us tonight.
And through the chair, just for clarification and for the members of the public, the applicant has a brief presentation, and my understanding is that the property owner will also like to speak following the Olson Company's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Plan Commissioners. My name is Steve Armanino, and I am joined by John Reekston and our entire design team. First, I would like to thank staff, and in particular, Alfonso Hernandez, for all his work over the past year on this proposed community. We are excited to present this new opportunity. Why are the slides blank? I'm sorry. Oh. I think we're having a technology issue, perhaps. Oh, there we go.
Hey, Ria? Is that working for you, Steve?
Alfonso, is it the up and down on the buttons or side to side?
Side to side. Were you doing up and down?
I was doing side to side, so let me just try it again. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and pick up where we left off here. The Olson Company is very customer-focused, rated #1 in the nation by Alliance surveys based on survey feedback from our customers. And just last week, Olson once again received the Alliant Award. We are a 9-time recipient of this honor. We are rated #1 in the nation for customer service and #1 for overall homebuyer purchase and homeownership experience. Alliant is a nationwide survey company for home builders similar to J.D. Powers. We most recently worked with the City of Downey to complete Village Walk, a residential townhome community located at 3rd and Lorena. Although this was a very successful community, we're here to talk about a new opportunity this evening. Let's begin by reviewing how state housing policy affects the subject property. There are 3 state policies that effectively modified and intensified what can be done under the existing general plan and zoning designation. These are State Density Bonus Law, Accessory Dwelling Unit Policy, and Senate Bill 4, which impacts religious and educational institutions. As you are aware, staff directed Sagecrest to review and validate these development options. You will see that the Sagecrest numbers differ to some degree from Olson's. Our land use attorney is here this evening if you would like further clarification on this matter, including the discrepancy of the ADUs. So just to state up front, between the time this was prepared and now, we do agree with the 71 units on the SB4, and on the ADUs, there's still some disagreement between 39 and 52, and I'll try to keep that consistent with the numbers here. So let's walk through these state policies, how these state policies would likely be applied to the property. Under State Density Bonus Law, which is triggered by the city's inclusionary housing ordinance, a total of 13 lots may be developed on the site. Olson's interpretation of accessory dwelling unit law allows up to 3 ADUs to be built on each single-family lot. This totals 13 for-sale homes and 39 rentals, for a total of 52 units. No parking is required for the ADUs, and under State Density Bonus Law, parking is reduced to 20 spaces, only to support the 13 primary homes. The second option, using Senate Bill 4, would allow for up to 71 affordable homes. In either case, these would likely be built by an affordable housing developer, would be all rental, and funded using low-income housing tax credits and/or Section 8 funds, and would only be required to provide 1 space per unit. This table compares the options. Under the current general plan and zoning designation, ADU and SB4 policy allows between 52 and 71 units, again correcting the prior slide, mostly rental and by right. These alternatives offer fewer parking spaces and very limited city discretion. Under the rental alternatives, CEQA review would be extremely limited, city approval would be limited to health and safety issues, and parking would be woefully inadequate. In contrast, Olson's design went through a thorough city review process, including CEQA environmental review. Our proposed community is 100% for sale, provides by far the most on-site parking of the alternatives, and includes a homeowners association to ensure long-term maintenance and to protect property values. If the project is approved, in an effort to further de-intensify the potential uses of the site under SB4 and ADU law, Olson would place a covenant on the property, restricting the site to only 33 homes with no ADUs in perpetuity. Next, let's talk about community outreach. I think the scrolling or something is off because it's hard to see the slide. I think we can just proceed maybe if, okay, I'll go ahead and proceed. The island consists of a little over 300 homes and is walkable, so we implemented a door-to-door neighborhood outreach. Over a year, we visited the island neighborhood 70 times. In addition, we visited other locations throughout Downey, knocking on 1,166 doors, including re-knocks, and speaking with 523 residents in Downey, both on and off of the island, and 51 Downey businesses. 373 people registered their support, and of those, 160 Downey residents signed letters of support, which I have for you this evening. In March, we also held a community meeting with notices mailed to all residents on the island, and we had 22 people in attendance. Following that meeting, we briefed staff verbally on the comments received at that meeting. So next, let's talk about the feedback we received during our community outreach. First and foremost, for sale housing was the preferred option. Residents liked the attractive architecture, they liked that garages are screened from the street, and residents liked the idea of new neighbors and homeowner eyes on the street. An HOA to professionally manage and maintain the community, and we heard that Downey needs more homes. We also received and noted neighbor concerns. The concerns received from neighbors can be grouped into 3 categories, including vehicular, privacy and scale, and existing safety issues. Let's start with vehicular. Over the past year, we have witnessed the existing vehicular congestion in the area. We acknowledge that this is a challenging condition that exists today, and overwhelmingly the #1 concern registered during our outreach. Recently, Downey's Public Works Commission identified Suva and Foster Bridge as an area of focus. There are only 2 ways in and out of the island that are highlighted on this slide. Everyone that lives on the island is affected by vehicular congestion in the area. If someone is going to the 5, 710, or to Downey services, they would likely travel through this area. Vehicular congestion culminates at this 3-way signal, where wait times increase during peak hours. A study commissioned by the City of Downey focused on the potential vehicular impacts of the proposed community. While the study validates the neighbors' concern that vehicular congestion exists in the area, the study also concluded that the proposed community will not create a noticeable change to current conditions. Staff, in an effort to further reduce any impacts, came up with a great idea, conditioning that the Suva emergency access gate become a functioning exit gate, with right turn only, reducing Foster Bridge stacking, according to the staff report, by up to 30%. Although the study concluded that there would be no noticeable change to current conditions, to further improve vehicular flow, a secondary right turn exit only onto Suva will be installed. Additionally, we heard tonight about the traffic preemptive device installation, which we agreed to at the cost of $6,000 that was mentioned earlier. Additionally, concerns were raised regarding the use of street parking, particularly along Foster Bridge and Bluff Road. On Foster Bridge, there is parking on the west side in front of the proposed community, with no parking permitted on the east side along the neighboring homes. Parking is allowed on Bluff Road north of Suva, but is less likely to be used, since no overnight parking is permitted. On Bluff Road south of Suva, there are 25 head-in parking spaces, and parking is available on both sides of Suva and Scout Avenue. As you can see, there is a fairly large amount of off-site parking available. The ADU and SB4 alternatives would make heavy use of the off-site parking. And here we add an additional measure to further reduce any need for off-site parking. Olson will include a parking management plan in the CCNRs, which will require residents to use use garages for parking and not storage. Enforcement rights will be granted to the HOA, and violators will be subject to inspection, fines, and penalties. In addition, residents will not be permitted to park in guest spaces, as they will be reserved for guests only. During our outreach, Olson received comments about scale of the proposed community and concerns about privacy. Specifically, the neighbors on the other side of Foster Bridge expressed concerns about privacy. This exhibit of our original submittal shows where we started, with only a few trees on Foster Bridge Boulevard. We agreed that there was a lot of room for improvement. Staff also expressed a similar concern, and based on community feedback and its staff's recommendation, we worked with our landscape architect to select specific trees that would best address privacy and transition scale. We have added 13 trees on Foster Bridge, selecting species with 40-foot tree canopies at maturity to provide privacy and to buffer and transition between our site and the adjacent homes. To further enhance privacy, Olson has elected to install window coverings at third floor Foster Bridge windows prior to occupancy, and will be conditioned to always have window coverings in the CCNRs. In addition to Foster Bridge landscape, we enhanced plantings along the north property line to buffer the adjacent home. In all, we are planting over 100 trees on site. And to our list, we've added the following measures to address privacy and scale. 13 trees along Foster Bridge for additional privacy, as well as builder-installed window coverings on all third-floor windows facing Foster Bridge. The CCNRs shall require that those locations always have window coverings installed, and we are planting over 100 trees across the site to buffer and transition. We also received neighbor input on existing safety concerns. There were concerns about vagrancy in Treasure Island Park and the church parking lot after hours. And here's how the project could help with safety. If the city should choose $35,000 in park fees generated by this community could be spent on lighting, cameras, and improved security at Treasure Island Park. The new townhomes will also place additional eyes on the street and participate in Neighborhood Watch. And at this time, I would like to highlight the benefits of this community. This community will bring increased revenues to the city of Downey of approximately $900,000. And according to the National Association of Home Builders, there is a substantial one-time and ongoing revenue benefit to the city. The Downey General Plan goals, policies, and programs support the creation of new for-sale housing, promoting home ownership. And at this time, let's recap some of the design features and measures offered by the proposed community, starting with our gated entry, enhanced paving, 13 privacy trees with 40-foot canopies, Spanish colonial architecture with front entries and patios. It looks like the slide went blank again after that. Actually, at this time, if we could just bring up the architectural elevation, that should give me what I need to finish the presentation. Could you cue up the 3D elevation, please, on Suva?
Hey, Steve, if you maneuver it back, you'll eventually find it. I think someone else is doing it.
That's good enough, thank you. And here we have an architectural elevation from the community's frontage along Foster Bridge. The elevations incorporate Spanish colonial design details, including earth-tone concrete tile roofs with hip and gable articulation in the roofline. Other features include box bay windows, faux chimneys, truss tails, sculpted sills, clay vents, differentiation of front entries, front patios, and movement in the elevation plane. In summary, here are some key points. While not solving the existing condition of vehicular congestion that exists today, the proposal here before you tonight is far less impactful than what can be done today on the site by right, offering 33 for-sale homes versus 52 to 71 mostly rental homes, and 71 parking spaces versus 20 spaces or 1 space per unit under the SB4. The City Commission's CEQA study shows no adverse impacts, and we have incorporated mitigation measures to address community concerns. This concludes our presentation, and our team is available for questions. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce the owner of the property to come and speak at this time?
Yes, thank you. Yes, please welcome the owner of the church. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Kirchhoff. I am not the owner. Our church is the owner. I just want to make sure that's clear. Okay. Our congregation are a bunch of individuals who are there to assemble together, and we've been doing so for 51 years. So thank you so much for having our church here, commissioners. I wanted to share more about the heart behind why we are leaving, because I know there was concerns within the community, and I wanted to share that personally after having a great conversation with Community Development Director Irma on a Sunday morning. And so I appreciate the opportunity to share. So we were there for 51 years. We took that place in September 18th, 1972. It was a bunch of Dutch and Indonesian immigrants who came. Fast forward now through a senior pastor who founded it, and then my father who led there from the 90s until 2017, where I took over. And we've been an integral part of the community. If anybody here, I've probably been there a pretty long time. I was born in 78, and I've been here ever since. And so I've seen the traffic and all that stuff and the concerns, and I do empathize with the community in all of those concerns. But I want to speak really briefly just about how this project will enable our reach as a church community to those who are struggling with emotional and spiritual health. This is going to help launch us into a whole different region to not only be in Downey, because our heart is in Downey, and we have many people who are in Downey that continue to call this place their home, who will remain as a part of our community. And so it's going to enable us to continue to reach and meet the felt and spiritual needs of many people in the Southern California region. And I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the Olsen. They've been great to work with. And I do empathize with the community of all the different concerns. And it is a bit bittersweet to say goodbye after 51 years. But we are led on a new mission to really help this generation. And so that's why we're leaving. We're not being forced out or foreclosed on or anything like that. We felt led to expand our mission to not only Downey, but to the surrounding cities in the region as a whole. But I do appreciate just this time to be able to share my heart and the heart of the Lord's grace on 7360 Foster Bridge Road for the last 51 years. And so I do appreciate this opportunity and the community. And I saw one concern there on that slide, and it said the loss of community with the church. I would love to invite you on a 9:30 service on Sunday morning, just to be able to get to know each and every one of you and just say goodbye as well. And just if you had any questions for me in the whole process, I'm happy to make myself available to you guys as well. Thank you so much, Commission.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Pastor. Okay, so now we would need to perhaps bring the applicant back up, sorry, so that if our commissioners have any questions of you, we may ask those questions. Commissioner Morales?
None at the moment.
Commissioner Lujan?
Yeah, one of the things that I was thinking, the trees that you're going to be increasing the amount, are there trees that are going to be able to I know some roots, some trees have big roots, so I'm not familiar with these type of trees. Are they going to be ones that in 5-10 years, they won't be lifting up our sidewalk and then causing hazards for that? Is that?
One of the things we would do for, especially for street trees or trees near the public sidewalk, would be to put in root barriers. So we could make sure that that happens on this community, that we have that to protect the sidewalk, because I've seen in other places where that has definitely occurred, so I can understand.
Yeah, it happened on Lakewood Boulevard when they did the promenade.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, it looked beautiful, but eventually, like 2-3 years later, it started lifting the sidewalks, and it creates a hazard for the pedestrians and stuff. So, you know, but it does look like something that definitely will add aesthetics to the property. Good.
Thank you.
No more.
Commissioner Saikali?
No questions at this time.
Okay, that leaves me. I'm assuming that you're going to be purchasing this property and that has not gone through yet, correct? That the church still owns their property?
We are in escrow currently, yes.
Oh, okay, got it, okay. Have you considered building less than 33 units?
We, in order to make the community feasible, we needed the 33 homes to do that, especially given the 3 affordables, which are below market, that the market rate homes help to pay for that. So it's all part of that equation.
So from a financial standpoint, of course. The 2-car garages and the enforcement of people actually parking in their cars. I understand you're going to have CC&Rs, you're going to have bylaws, but who's going to be there at the property patrolling that, enforcing that? Are you going to have annual inspections? How is that going to be enforced?
We have this at other communities. We have the Olson Champion program, whereby we have a manager attend all the quarterly HOA meetings, and if they see any signs that there could be storage in garages, either from the other HOA board members or from the HOA management company, we would help with that enforcement and point out the tools and the CC&Rs that they have in order to do that. And we've successfully done that at a lot of other Olson communities.
Management companies, though, are usually off-site, right?
They are. They're not physically on the property, but they do site inspections, not only for that, but also for community maintenance as well.
Okay.
Oh, this is John Reekston. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair. The community is very motivated, obviously, to keep parking outside of the guest spaces, to not have folks use their garage spaces for storage and to park in the garage. They want the integrity and quality of the community to be at the very top, because most of these are very expensive townhomes, and they are very strong in their self-policing efforts, and that's what we've found over 30 years. Folks, their eyes are open, they talk to each other, and they want to ensure the quality. They don't want to see cars scattered around the site. So they're very good at enforcing their bylaws and their CC&Rs.
Okay. You chose to do door-to-door visits, and in your report, you pointed out that you spoke to 523 residents, both on and off the island, and to 51 businesses. I'd like to know if you have a number as to how many residents actually answered the door and you actually spoke to the residents on the island. Do you have an approximate number? I know it's a small community, so it's very doable.
I know we knocked on over 1,000 doors. Diane, how many of those were 463 doors? Or 463 island conversations.
Okay. I just find that people don't answer their door anymore. Let's see. And how many people showed up to the community meeting that you had in March?
22.
22, okay. And you chose to do that at a site, off-site, I think it was the community center in the city of Bell.
At the golf course.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Why did you not do it at the church so that maybe more residents could have attended? They could have walked over.
Well, we wanted to hold it on a Sunday because the hope, and based on our experience with sales, Sunday is obviously a great day to show a home because people are around. So we were
Right.
hoping that we could capture the greatest number of people. Obviously, that would have been a conflict for the church. And we also wanted to provide a location that had shelter and not just do it outdoors, say at the park at Treasure Island. So we tried to pick the closest park that had a room that would be comfortable. And that's why we ended up there on Sunday from 10 to 12, I believe it was.
Okay, and what was the feedback from that meeting?
It was entirely consistent with the feedback over the course of the prior year. I would say 80 to 90% of those who attended said the number one concern was the existing traffic problem. By far, that's almost a universal concern.
Okay. All right, that concludes my questions. I don't know if anyone else has a question that came to mind. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May staff confirm that there has been correspondence in favor or in opposition?
Yes, recently we have received 2 separate letters. On one in opposition, it is a petition of over 500 signatures in opposition to the project. The other is not necessarily opposition, it is a letter from the city of Bell Gardens and their community development team on asking for, providing responses and comments to the CEQA analysis.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I may just elaborate a little bit with regard to the letter received from the City of Bell Gardens. Staff also has placed on the dais the city staff's responses to the various concerns that were brought forward. More specifically, the City of Bell Gardens indicated some concerns over whether or not a traffic impact analysis had been conducted, and so we clarified that indeed it had been prepared as it has been presented and discussed through this evening. In addition, there was a couple of other comments from the City of Bell Gardens that were also were able to answer and provide to the public at the back of the room and on the dais, indicating that the Mitigation Monitoring Reporting Program as part of CEQA, the MMRP, also ensures that we've adequately analyzed and responded to those comments. And then more specifically with regard to the petition that was provided to the commission at the dais and at the back of the room, the petition does have various signatures. Those signatures have not been verified by staff. We have printed and provided that to you for your review tonight. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sure.
Chair, if I could add, the applicant just handed me a letters of support on, staff has not looked at the letters of support, but I will give them to our planning secretary to submit to the record.
Okay, great. Thank you. Members of the audience wishing to address the Planning Commission regarding the public hearing project may come to the podium when your number is called. I will be calling the green number cards for this project. I remind the speakers that you have 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission regarding the public hearing project only. I think if I could read from the back of the room, there's 45 people wishing to speak tonight. So why don't we start with green card number 1?
Good evening. My name is Hector Rosales. I'm a resident from Downey. And I want to ask the Planning Council to support the Ocean Project. Basically, I'm more for giving the community a chance to become more homeowners instead of renters. And basically, that's it. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, speaker number 1. Speaker number 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ivan Guitron. I'm a resident of Downey. So I would like to ask the Planning Commission to support Olson's project, pretty much for the community to have an opportunity to own a home rather than rent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Speaker number 3.
Hello, my name is Alan Lara. Good evening to everyone. I'm supporting Olson proposal. I'm here to say I'm agree with these guys with Olson's proposal. That's all I need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 4.
Hello, Commission. My name is Ernesto Valle. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I didn't attend the pre-celebratory dinner tonight, so I am here to oppose the proposal by the Olson company. I did meet with them. It was a great presentation, similar to the one that we had here. Obviously, it's a great project, looks very nice, and nothing against the Olson company. I'm not against building in Downey. I just think that this is a poor site to build on. I do have a couple of notes that I took from tonight with regards to some of the comments being made. I do appreciate the commissioners that actually took the time to go out there and not go by a computer-generated number, or I don't know how they calculate the 13 or whatever number, but I had the opportunity to invite Mario Trujillo, our mayor, to go out there and address some of our concerns. And one of the commissioners, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to be falsely accused that I'm naming any names unless that commissioner wants to say they were there, but I was there with the commissioner and Mario Trujillo, and we did notice an emergency vehicle not be able to pass. We did notice a lot more than 13 cars, and to one of the commissioners that pointed out by the Foster Bridge, I mean, you have 10, 15 cars just waiting to make a right onto Foster Bridge. So it's alarming. There was no real answer to the overflow of traffic. I was on Public Works for a minute, and in the last meeting, there's a lot of new places asking for parking permits. Our residents are asking for parking permits because there's no parking. So we look, I grew up in Huntington Park, Walnut Park, Maywood area. And when I moved into Walnut Park, there was a lot of parking. Now people park on the streets. Is that where we're headed to in Downey? Is that where we're headed to in our island residents? What else was here? During that meeting, the commissioner said that the light would not be effective. So now that we're talking about putting a traffic light there, the stop sign was put there. From my understanding, that I was told that day with Mayor Trujillo was that there was accidents from Guatemala, so that's why that there's a stop sign, because I did propose maybe we should put a light here. The answer was no, we shouldn't, because it won't do much impact. I do wish that the mayor would have kept his word, and I think he told the city manager that we would be able to put someone on staff there along with the commissioner. Part of our game plan was, hey, can we put someone between 7:30 and 9 a.m. and between 5 and 7 or 4:30 and 7 to count the number of cars, see what we could do, maybe guide traffic to see if that would facilitate the situation. But we went on February 23rd, which was a Friday, and to date, nothing had been done, so no surprise there. So again, the biggest concern too that I have is there was a meeting that was, when I met with the Olson company, I did suggest that maybe we should have a town hall meeting.
Mr. Valle, your time is up.
Really quick, they only gave a day. They only gave a day to the residents to show up,
Thank
so that's
you.
maybe why we had 22.
Thank you, sir. I believe speaker number 5 is next.
Good evening. My name is Patricia. I grew up in Bell Gardens. I graduated from Bell Gardens. I lived approximately 15 years in Chalette, and now residents of Downey. And I am supporting the Olson Company for a better control and to probably purchase a home. I support Olson for him to do his townhomes.
Thank you, Patricia. Speaker number 6.
Hi, my name is Carlos, and I live in the city of Downey, and I support the awesome projects they have on mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Speaker number 7, is that where I'm at?
Hello, good evening. My name is Margarita Revuelta. I live in the city of Downey for 34 years. And you want to ask me about traffic and Foster Bridge? Ask me. I live in the third house from the church, 7222. And I see the traffic getting worse and worse and worse every day. They talking about they do something with the signal. Just today I got a video. Everybody's stuck in traffic. It's getting worse. For that reason, I oppose to have the construction. And I don't want a bunch of cars in the street because they bring tips to take a steal. I don't want to see cars in my neighborhood parking in the middle of the night, bring people to steal the cars, to breaking into the cars. That bring my street down in my city. I totally oppose to the construction. And I oppose from now and on. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 8.
Good evening. My name is Juan Carlos Revolta. I'm the son of Margarita Revolta. I know everybody has the same concern. I oppose the project. I like the homes. Wish I could own one, but I think the location is bad. And I will speak in vain. We have the third house to the right. We're currently 20 feet elevation below the current grade. If the grade goes up, the building will be 30 feet, 36 feet plus 20 feet. That's 50 feet view of my backyard where my daughters will be swimming in the pool. An 8-foot tree will not block that view, not even from the second story building. And how about that cinder block wall for security? Who's gonna be, what will be done about that? Right now, it's currently very easy to jump into our backyard. I would like to see something about that. Maybe taller trees, something more security. And I don't know, the traffic is bad. There's no denying that. If you go there right now, it takes a while to get across. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 9.
Hello, my name is Thomas Hughes. I've been a member of Downey all but 1 year of my life. And I've been lucky enough to live on the corner of Guatemala and Suva since August of 1981. And I have to tell you, the traffic situation there is extremely bad. A cop told us in 1980 that that intersection, Guatemala and Suva, got 10,000 cars a day. Now I would say it's 2 to 3 times that amount. So the number that he posted up there, which was what, 11,000 or something, I don't agree with that. Because, well, let me give you an anecdote about how many people, the scope of people that use that. Back in about 1985, I was way out in Brea, California at, it was a nightclub. And I was talking to this one guy, and we talked about our cars. At that time, I had a 1977 black Trans Am. It looked like the Trans Am Smokey and the Bandit, except it looked even more wicked. Very recognizable car. As I was describing my car to him, he said, "Wait a minute, is that car on Suva Avenue?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh yeah, I drive through there every day on my way to work downtown or in LA. Everyone uses that as a thoroughfare. And if you think about it, that is the only bridge of a minor road for 5 miles in either direction of the Rio Hondo River. And the only reason for the bridge is because people have to get to the, to Treasure Island. Anyway, as far as you're concerned about the stop sign, it used to be a 2-way stop sign until about, 7 or 8 years ago. And I didn't notice a whole lot of difference. They also played games with the signal, trying to slow it down so that, people would have to wait 4 or 5 minutes before it would turn green. That didn't work. Now, there is one advantage to having the 4-way stop sign. My cats live a little longer because people aren't running through there all the time. But anyway, that's what my concern is. Now, Elias, you mentioned a couple of solutions. I don't know if a signal would help, but my biggest problem is that I'm the only driveway between the intersection and Foster Bridge. And I always turn left. The only time I ever turn right is if I'm going to the airport. And it's a challenge to get out there. the car, and I have a 10-second video. Somebody, one of the people sent me a thing about that you guys were proposing a planning mission on the 31st of January. So on the 30th, I happened to walk out there and just take a video. I panned to the right, panned to the left. There were cars lined up past the bridge, and on Guatemala and Suva, there were cars coming from 3 different directions. And I have to fight that traffic, trying to edge my way out because I have to back into my driveway. I've done that since the 1980s because of the tremendous amount of traffic there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. One additional thing. If people start parking cars on the north part of my property, that's going to block the view. And they already do it because they want to sell, everybody goes over there to sell cars.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
Speaker number 10, you may come forward.
Hi, good evening. My name is Iris Gonzalez. I'm a resident of Downey. And I heard everybody, and I also here because I would like more people to have the opportunity to buy a home in Downey. I have a lot of my family members moving out because it's hard to find a house and a property affordable for them as well. I hear a lot of concern about it's gonna overwhelm the population of students in school, as some of the things that they said on the chart, and it's not. Actually, schools are dropping. We don't have enough kids at school, so it's not gonna affect that. That's one of the issues. Also, something that they said, the traffic in downtown LA, they have solved this situation to go in downtown LA, adding traffic lights which block one way in the morning and the other way in the afternoon. So that way it creates more flow for the traffic to come in. And I think as a planning commissioner, that's something that you have to address separately, independently of the building. You already have the issue. I don't think 66 or 100 people that's gonna move in or 60 cars gonna move in is gonna change dramatically the fact that it's a traffic issue. So I think that's something the planning commissioner had to discuss separately from here. Thank
So
you.
are you in favor?
I'm in favor, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Speaker number 11.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Medina. I'm here asking for support for Olson's proposal to build 33 new townhomes. I agree that it's a good thing to further beautify and raise the value of our community in Downey. It's good that creating the HOA for this area would increase security for all the residents living here. Please help us with supporting the construction of new purchasable homes for people wanting to live in Downey. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Speaker number 12.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Arden, and I'm a resident of the city of Downey for a number of years now, and I am in support for the Olson project that's attempting to come into our community for a variety of reasons. One, it would definitely add on value to a lot of the existing properties already that exist in the community, specifically in that area. That's one. Two, traffic, one way or another, traffic is going to continue to come because we live in California. We're being overwhelmed. It's a lot of traffic coming through, regardless of the community that we live in. Everybody has that issue. So the construction, I don't think adding these new properties is going to add more weight onto that existing issue that's already occurring, whether we like it or not. It's happening. A couple of other things. It would definitely beautify the area. I've seen I've seen some of these construction homes in the downtown area, and it would actually add more beauty into the community in that area as well. It would definitely give the opportunity for newcomers that would want to actually buy property right in the city of Downey that would be at a little bit more of affordable rate, at the time. And on top of that, it would also help to combat the issue that we have, not just in Downey, but in our neighboring cities and throughout California, the housing issue, right? We need more housing throughout the state of California. And I think this is a step forward in preparing in that direction to having housing available for newcomers that are coming into the city. So definitely I'm in for the project with the Olson project, and I'm asking definitely the community to please support it because it's much needed, and I think it's helping us preparing into the future for the population that's incoming into our own community. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 13, you may come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. Hola, mi nombre es Enrique, soy residente de Downey y estoy de acuerdo con el proyecto Olsen porque traerá beneficio a nuestra comunidad y las investigaciones muestran que aumentar el acceso de vivienda es la estrategia más rentable para reducir la pobreza y aumentar la movilidad económica de nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
Do you speak English? No. You can't translate it for us? Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He's in favor of the project.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can you translate for us, Madam Chair?
That was too long now.
You want me to translate? Let's see, we are on speaker number 14.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Samuel y soy residente de Downey y me gustaría que apoyaran el proyecto de Olson, ya que proporcionaría viviendas nuevas para las personas que viven en Downey y que puedan comprar sus casas en lugar de rentar. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. I'm assuming that's in favor as well.
He's in favor, yeah, for new homes to purchase. So.
Ownership.
Speaker number 15. Speaker number 15, are you here? Obviously, if you're, oh, there we are.
My name's Diane. I'm a resident of the island.
Through the chair.
I think you're going to have to wait till number 34 is called.
So I had to leave. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm guessing speaker number 15 is not here, so we will move on to speaker number 16.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Leon. I'm a resident here at Downey. I'm in favor for the Olsen projects simply because as a new home buyer, there's just nothing that's really affordable in the area, you know. Instead of having to rent, I would really like to be able to put my money into purchasing a home and not just renting something out. And then I know there's a lot of issues with the traffic. Like someone else said, it's already an issue, you know. We live in the county of Los Angeles. Anywhere we go, it's going to be an issue. There's other plans besides the Olsen one that they want to do there, but compared to the Olsen one, I feel like those are just going to create even more traffic, even more problems than what already exists. And you know, it sounds like a nice place to live at. You know, there's always going to be traffic no matter where you go in Los Angeles. So they're at least proposing solutions to the traffic instead of just choosing to ignore it and not face it. So I'm in favor of the Olsen project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Speaker number 17.
Madam Chair, I believe we're at
I'm
number
sorry.
16.
I am so sorry, number
Speaker
16.
number 16.
Sorry, my bad. That was 16. 15 wasn't here, so that was 16. So we are at 17. Are we correct?
Yes.
Okay.
17, yes.
Hello, good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
My name is Norman. I'm resident of Downey, and please support this
community. It will be a beautiful addition to the city. Should be raise the value of people, properties who lives in nearby. And as an experienced person, I used to live in front of the park. I see so many people in front of my house because I was just right across the street. And this place was I know everybody knows Montebello. It was a park in front of some of those apartments. And I see so many gangs, people carrying guns, doing drugs, and even couples in the corners, in the cars. And I don't think it's to be appropriate to put a park in front of the apartments. So I'm really against to that. But I'm at the side of the little houses.
So you're in favor, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 18.
My name is Adrian, and I am not in favor of the project. I would like to discuss the impact should this development be permitted to proceed. I want to highlight the lack of clarity regarding the in lieu fee and how it will be allocated. I want to address the Olsen Company and the subsequent in lieu fee due to the lack of adequate green space in their plan. The developers have advertised our local Treasure Island community in this letter that we receive rich in amenities, including Treasure Island Park access and a regional trail. Let me be clear, this description is a misrepresentation of reality. It's a glossy overlay of a deteriorating picture. The Treasure Island Park as it stands is barely holding together. The trash cans have wooden panels that are literally falling apart. Benches are no longer secured in the ground and are moved around like props. Picnic tables are unstable and unreliable. An area intended for sand playground is nothing more than a forgotten zone. Sprinkles are broken. The lighting is antiquated. Water fountains are absent. You get the picture. Is this the rich amenity that the Olsen Company dares to say? This is what they are offering to prospective buyers. With the addition of these new residences, our parks will face higher footwork, leading to more deterioration. The proposed fee, which I spoke to Steve, was $35,000. I attended the open house, is a consolation for not providing sufficient green space to their plan, and they're giving that money to the city. It's laughably inadequate, but now it's $26,341. How did that happen? If this project were to go forward, what exactly would happen to a $35,000 fee? Considering how the Olsen Company describes the Treasure Island Park as a location rich in amenities, doesn't it make sense that every penny of that should go to the park? Again, this sum will not even begin to address all the issues to our park, much less prepared to handle the increased use by more new residences from 33 condominiums. I will also like to highlight that we've gathered over 400 signatures for our petition against the 33 condos. There are not just numbers on a page, they are a powerful representation of the community's voice. These signatures symbolize passion and unity of those who stand for what is right and can always be present and cannot always be present at the meetings, but yet want to still be heard. There's no way the council can just brush off 400 voices like they are nothing. It would be foolish to ignore this unified opposition. These signatures are the heartbeat of the community. Ignoring them would be a mistake. Don't overlook these people's signatures. Just like the Olsen Company wants to brush aside the neighbors across from Foster Ridge with their concerns about privacy by offering planting trees in their backyard. Nice try, Olsen Company. I'd like to quickly state that there's a possibility of a landfill there.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Speaker number 19, you may come forward. I think so.
Hello, my name is Rosalba, and I support on-salt project. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalba. Speaker number 20, you may come forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mrs. Aguirre, and I'm here to support to Elson project. Please support us. Give it to the young people to have her house. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 21, you may come forward. Speaker number 21. Okay, I saw somebody coming from outside, but they're not making their way in, so we'll move on to speaker number 22.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Christina Martinez, and I'm a resident of the island. And I like to clarify that because I've seen a lot of people come up here who say that they're residents. Some of them haven't identified themselves, so it leaves me wondering how actually in tune they are with what's happening in the island. And I actually have been living there for almost 24 years. My husband and I both oppose the Olsen project. We feel like it's going to have deteriorate our community, not just our parks, our local streets, excessive parking on the streets, which will cause more congestion. I can speak from personal experience that intersection on Guatemala and Suva is extremely hazardous. We personally had an accident from a driver who completely took the stop sign and hit my husband's car. I have another neighbor who had the same situation happen on that same intersection. So to add additional 66 vehicles and who knows how many more from additional cars that may come from these families that move into the neighborhood, I think is exacerbating the issue. Obviously, there's long-term conversations that need to happen about improving traffic in the area, but to add to the issue is not, I think is going to basically worsen the area for all of the residents of the island. So again, I oppose this. The other thing I wanted to say too is, I know that the Olsen company showed some diagrams about how they're enforcing some signage to say that people can only make right turns on certain things, but are those gonna really be enforced? I am part of a parent group in my kids' school, and we see that happens all the time. People turn the wrong way all the time. It's not enforced. So how are we really going to be able to know that people are going to be following traffic signals and direction? It's not really a signal, it's just a recommendation. And if that really gonna make an impact. So again, I oppose this project.
Thank you. Speaker number 23, you may come forward. 23. No 23? Okay, we'll move on to 24. At the end. You could get a number from Lisa in the back. Okay, so that was 24, correct? So now we move on to speaker number 25.
Hi, good evening. My name is Millie. I am support for the project. I don't know support for the parking. Thank you.
Speaker number 26, you may come forward.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Racinos, and I'm a resident of Downey and a proud homeowner of an Olsen home. As a member of the HOA board in my community, I have had the privilege of working closely with the Olsen management team and have experienced firsthand an exceptional level of care and commitment they bring to our neighborhood. I'm here to express my enthusiastic support for the requested community development in Downey. Having reviewed the plans and the new community, I'm confident that it will be a superior option compared to other rental alternatives in the area. The emphasis of homeownership and the involvement of Olsen's management team through programs like the Olsen Champion Initiative are clear indicators of the dedication to creating a maintained, thriving, well-maintained community. From an aesthetic standpoint, the proposed development will not only enhance appeal of our city, but also contribute to the pride ownership among residents. The thoughtful design and attention to detail will undoubtedly elevate the visual landscape of Downey, further solidifying its reputation as a desirable place to live. As someone has exceptional and positive impact of the Olson home firsthand, I believe that expanding such community is essential to addressing housing shortage, but providing more opportunities for home ownership and fostering a sense of community pride, we can create a bright future for Downey and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 27. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name's Michelle Martin. I've been a resident of the island since 1999. Initially, I was not in support of the project. Nobody likes change. If we could have it stay the same forever, I think we would all want it to stay the same forever. But realistically, in learning of the mandates from the state of all the housing units that Downey is mandated to provide, looking at some of the other issues, looking at the alternative projects that are next in line if this does not get approved, I think Olson has done great outreach. I think it's just a better alternative, and going forward, although I was initially against the project, at this point, looking at all the alternatives, like I said, and the fact that Downey is mandated to provide that many housing, I don't want to get a couple years down the road where there's now a little bit more of a push, and I think that site is eventually going to be approved for something to be built there. So I think this is the best alternative, looking at all the other options at this point. So I am, at this point, in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 28.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raul Carrillo. I'm a Downey citizen, resident, and I'm in support of the awesome project because I believe it's a good project, and I increase the value of the neighbors, residents, and I'm in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 29.
Hello, good evening. My name is Brandon Carrillo. I'm a current resident of Downey. And considering everybody's concerns about the traffic, which is something I believe you can't avoid, in LA especially, that road is mainly used for people that are either coming out of homes or going to work. So I believe considering all the alternatives, like a park, which could bring the wrong set of traffic and the wrong groups of people, I do believe that this is a better opportunity for more homeowners to come and increase the value of the neighborhood island, which, you know, it's obviously more people that are going to work, so it's for the benefit and raising the value of the neighborhood. So with that being said, I do support the Olson project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 30, you may come forward.
Hello, my name is Maria Elmazon, and I don't randomly live in Downey. I live in the island. I live on Glencliff Drive, so I'm directly affected with this project. Firmly opposed to it. I love the quality of life I've enjoyed in the island for 28 years, and any effort we can make in keeping it that way, I'm for it. I know there's houses needed, but I don't understand why such a small plot of land needs to be built on with 33 homes, and whoever thinks they're gonna be able to afford a condo for $700,000, I don't think so. There's only 3 units of affordable housing, not those big price tags. I think the company's building because it could get away with selling a condo in Downey for that much. There's a bunch of land all around the other cities where they can help if they really want to, but they don't. I think they're just looking into the money, the profit in it. And for their information, the 25 spaces available on Bluff Road are fully utilized by the apartment building next to it. And the Suva Street during the week is used for parking by the factories in Bell Gardens. Their workers park there. So there isn't any parking available as per their information. And I know that because I live there. I see it every day. I drive through there every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 31.
Good evening. My name is Scott Anderson. I've been fortunate enough to call the island my home for over 20 years now. There's many things to say about this project. I am in opposition. The traffic numbers are ludicrous. Let's just start with that right there. On the way here tonight, Suva and Foster Bridge were completely impacted with traffic just after 6 o'clock. As I crossed the Suva Street Bridge, I could see along the riverbed that the 5 South was completely stopped. GPS has turned Suva and Foster Bridge into major thoroughfares in and out of the city. Traffic is severely impacted at all times during rush hour. And the idea that there's only going to be maximum 13 cars in any 15-minute period, I don't know where that number comes from. Not reality. In addition to the traffic, there are other issues. We need to look at that location, and apart from the 3 moderate income units that are planned to be built, what is going to justify the high asking price? The commanding view of Nova Store? The donut screeching auto shows that take place in the intersection, which are up to about 2 or 3 a week at this point? The smell of the river or the increasing number of people who call it home? The bigger concern than traffic, which is the best case scenario that we will live in nightmare traffic forevermore, especially with a gate on Foster Bridge, is that these units will not sell and that they will become derelict and attract an even worse element to the area. I am in complete opposition of this project. I would like to take a moment, since I still have some time left, I would thank the Lord's Grace Church for being so generous with their facility. It has become a de facto community center for so many functions, meetings, festivals. It will be a great loss to the community when they depart. And I wish the city would have taken the time to come up with something to replace that in terms of being a community center that works for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 32.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carlos Gomez. I am the one that sent the email to you guys yesterday, which was over 450 different signatures that myself and various people gathered in opposition of this project. We can't find one person in the, well, actually there's 2 people that, you know, are opposed, I mean, for this project. Nobody is for this project. And it was pretty easy. We went to Price, we went to Griffiths, I walked River Grove, all up and down Dos Rios, Shady Oak. I actually live on the corner of Glencliff and Dos Rios, and I see it all. You know, I haven't heard a plan on overflow traffic to Glencliff, right, coming in from Bluff. And I just talked to a guy here that's sitting next to me. I know there's, we're hearing a lot of people in favor. It's false. The guy told me that, he just told me that he lives at the LA Fitness right there on Firestone. So he knows nothing about the island. You know, I've been in the island for 14 years. I was there with Luis Morales and Mayor Trujillo when we saw the ambulance stuck. If somebody here in the island gets sick, or God forbid, you know, requires emergency help, between 5 to 7, you know, they're SOL at this point. Everything from the Olsen home has been pretty suspect, including this letter. This was their way of community outreach. All the people here that are speaking Spanish, I don't know how they read this because this wasn't even translated in Spanish. This was a letter that was postmarked by the USPS on March 14th that we received on Saturday, March 16th, for a meeting on March 17th, a Sunday, for a 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. meeting. That's why we had 22 people. And you know what? And I got there quick. Everybody got there quick. Everybody that was opposed dropped everything they had to get there. You know, the reality is this is crazy. This is crazy. And, you know, I don't want to threaten anyone. You know, Ria's been fantastic, by the way. And, you know, I am going to call you tomorrow, Alfonso, to find out who paid for that report. You know, because if we paid for it, we got problems, right? And the reality is those 500 signatures, that was like the majority of them were one per household. These are D3 voters. You know, so I've been in discussions with Dorothy, who's been, you know, communicating back and forth, and she's admitted it's a density issue. You know, so I just hope, you know, you block out the noise. You know, Olsen Homes, you know, they haven't been transparent. I have you guys can keep this letter so you guys can see. There is no contact information on here. This looked like junk mail when I received it on Saturday. You know, this is ridiculous. We're putting like our livelihood, our peace of mind, you know, with them. You know, that's just crazy. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe I'm at speaker 33.
Through the chair, I believe the previous speaker wanted to submit something for the record. If that's the case, he can provide it to staff. Thank you.
Okay, speaker number 33, you may go ahead.
Okay. Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Grant Power. I represent Habitat for Humanity. We're a nonprofit housing developer of for sale units around Los Angeles County to families of modest means who are working families. I am based in the San Gabriel Valley, and I've come to this meeting through the existing traffic conditions outside of Downey so that I can address this project and support the Olsen project. Although I am in San Gabriel Valley, the reason I'm here is that we have been working with the Olsen team on projects like this one located there. Specifically, over the last couple of years, we've been exploring ways that Habitat for Humanity can assist in finding qualified buyers of the inclusionary units. Our experience working with the Olsen team has been uniformly positive. We have found that they conduct themselves with the highest level of professionalism, and they are genuinely committed to finding ways to advance the quality of life, not only of the new owners that they are here to serve, but also the communities that surround the projects they develop. I'm saying this because I have seen genuine responsiveness in an attempt to explore solutions that will address the concerns that have been demonstrated in this case this evening. I believe the design of these units will meet the city's development standards and enhance the aesthetic standard of the neighborhood. And I believe it also provides an appropriate transitional use of land between the adjacent uses, including the existing single-family homes, the surrounding apartment, and the storage and commercial uses. As a single-family townhome community, this project will benefit the city not only by providing pride of ownership for new residents, but also an expansion of a badly needed housing stock to address the overall scarcity of housing in the area. From Habitat for Humanity's perspective, we are excited to see the inclusion of 3 moderate income units in this project. For all these reasons, I commend the Olsen Company as developer for this project and recommend that the project move forward as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 34. There you go.
My name's Diane. I've been an island resident since 1968, and I want to voice my opposition to this project for all the reasons that have already been mentioned in opposition. But also personally, there were 2 other meetings scheduled, of which I took flyers and handed out to almost every house on the island. And on both occasions, I spoke to between 30 to 50 people, and 100% of them were opposed. And I just wanted to voice that as well. So I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 35.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lucy McDonald, and I'm a resident of the Treasure Island. I've lived there for over 20 years, and I oppose this project, Olson project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 36.
Hi, my name is Karen Saldana. I'm opposed to it. My family is actually one of the people that will be directly affected by this construction. I know they said they're gonna put trees, but realistically, how long is it gonna take for those trees to grow and block our property? As far as maintenance, I know they offer to, put trees and stuff like that in our property. Realistically, who's gonna manage that? That's another expense if they're trying to do that as well. My biggest concern is you can see directly into our backyard. My kids are there, my nieces and nephews. That's an uncomfortable feeling. Trust me, I know, I've been there. And it's just something I'm completely opposed to. And of course, traffic, everybody else has mentioned. So again, I'm opposed.
Do you mind sharing what street you live on?
So I'm on Dos Rios, literally where the island says the island. That's our
Okay.
house, yeah.
All right, thank you. So we are at speaker number 37.
Yes, my name is Jose Delgado, and I've been a resident of the island for 36 years, and I'm opposed to it. I think it's a great project, but I think there's too many units. Traffic is going to be ridiculous, since that's really one of the only, as a map showed, for people on the island, that's only one of two places we could get out, exit our area. And regarding the traffic, I'm just reading from the Patriot. It says, a city traffic analysis, however, indicated that the 33 homes wouldn't likely make a significant difference in traffic. What the hell does that mean? I know English is my second language, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Now, as far as the traffic and pollution, yes, we're always going to have that in Los Angeles, but shouldn't we try to mitigate those whenever we can? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Speaker number 38. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Erica. I'm a 13-year resident of Downey Island. I'm on Hannon Street. I currently work at a college that has undergone construction for the past 8 years. Each time it says traffic will not be impacted, it adds an additional 15 to 30 minutes depending on alternate routes available. Suva is a main artery to our small community. It's a bridge to its surrounding cities, and with no real alternate routes close by, adding another entirely new community to this artery would congest it beyond what it can handle. Currently, the stop sign just east of Suva Bridge at Guatemala is already deeply impacted. My own daughter was T-boned at that stop sign during inclement weather when somebody ran the stop sign. We've actually seen about 5 accidents right there at that 4-way stop. So turning it into a 2-way again, I don't know would be a better option. I don't know how to handle the traffic, but I do know that it will cause more accidents. It will cause greater potential for collisions, as well as the Lord's Grace Church has been a lighthouse in our small community. It was offering prayer to anyone in need at their prayer booths. They offered prayer over the community. In a world that doesn't value prayer, I would challenge that the safety of our community is held in the value of those praying. And for decades, we have been benefiting from those prayers. To take that away from our community is more detrimental than I think people see in the long term. And I understand the need for more affordable housing, and I don't want to keep anyone from the opportunity to create a home, but the impact on an already impacted community does not feel like the best way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 39. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Gracie Menchaca, and I'm a resident of the island. I live on Clear Grove for 29 years with my parents, and I do want to mention a representative from the Olsen Company, a lady, stopped by at my door and said that my mom had signed the petition and to approve the project. My mom said she'd never signed and she wanted proof. Of course, they couldn't prove that she had signed. So I feel those signatures should be addressed and looked into it. A lot of elderly people live there, and I feel that someone should look into that. And I don't, I oppose this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 40.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, Planning Commission. I have a couple concerns about some of the density bonuses, some of the waivers being issued. As a resident, I follow the rules. We have permit process. None of my fees ever get waived. None of them. I want to just walk out, drive around. I have to pay for a permit. Being a little sarcastic, but we all have to pay for a roof permit, a construction permit, full. There's no discounts, none. Why are they getting a discount? I'd love to have discounts too if I walked in and asked and had $1 billion and asked for it, but the people that have the most money are gonna get waivers. How does that work? When the city of Downey, we need all our revenue, especially from the millionaires and billionaires that are building in our community. So I hope nothing is cut, no waivers are cut, no taxes are cut from them, discounts, any height requirements. I notice a lot of things they still have not fulfilled. So I hope you just consider that, because we need to get back to our community and make sure they pay all the food fees that they should be paying. A couple other things I have. They talk about the HOA. How much is the HOA going to be? I like to ask Olsen. I don't know if they reported on that. That's kind of important, right? Because it kind of talks about the property and how it's going to be upkept. Upkeeping the property for the long term is very important. So if their HOA dues are very low, what's going to happen when some of these trees, the roof, the graffiti, everything, the gate, So I like to ask how much the HOAs are going to be, and are they market? Are they like part of the market value? Changing, they have bylaws. They talk about enforcing parking in somebody's garage. How can you enforce that? It's your own garage. HOA bylaws, you could start them off, but in 10 years from now and 5 years from now, they could be changed by the homeowners, I believe, right? Just like the laws here are changed by the commission and the council. So how are they gonna enforce that 5, 10 years from now? Parking. Parking's gonna be very difficult, but I like to ask the city to install cameras, license plate readers in that area to be able to police it a lot better, because we are on the island and sometimes we're treated like we're on an island. So I think you guys should really think about that. And real quick, right along Bluff over there, right now we have yield signs. That's gonna be cut through. Now they're gonna be, you might have to install stop signs for the safety. So, in that little community right there, there's yield signs. So you probably will have to install and not make that street a cut through on River Grove.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Speaker number 41, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Alfred Calderon. I've been living on the island since 2004. I live on Cool Grove. I am against this project. One thing that friends and family, when they come over, they love that there's plenty of parking. And I agree. They said, this is so wonderful. I have friends live in Huntington Park, and when I go to their house, I can never find parking. Not only that, there's street vendors everywhere, and I don't want this to turn into a little Huntington Park. Nothing bad with the city, but it's just I don't want a bunch of people here, and it'll bring down the value of the property. Honestly, that's what a lot of friends and family, like, they come over, they love about our property. The park is not safe. Also, as another speaker said, that the garbage cans are deteriorating. There's actually a homeless person between Allen Grove and Cool Grove, stays within the bushes. There's a tent there. I'm afraid to go there, walk with my dog. I kind of walk on the outside because I don't like to go in there. I don't want to run into that person. So if they say, oh, this is a nice community, it's a nice park, it's not a nice park. And there's going to be, if there's 2 parkings per each space, that's reality. Translation is really going to be 3 or 4 cars. And those cars are going to be parked on the island. So streets like Bluff Road, Cleo Grove, Hannon, Finevale, they'll all be with cars. And that's a field day for criminals. They'll break into cars, catalytic converters, they'll steal the whole car. So, and what they didn't consider also, on the bridge, there's could be accidents. Cars could get stuck. It happened to me and my wife and our kids a few years ago. The car just died right on the bridge. We were fortunate that a AAA truck happened to be behind us, and it saved us, but they don't take that into consideration. What a mess it would be. Also, when there's schools in the mornings and people getting to work, people are gonna have to leave much earlier because the school bus stops, puts on the red light, so it's like a stop sign, can't get around it. And any kind of events like Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, graduations, there'll be people just parking everywhere. And just football games alone, so it'll be very bad. So I'm completely opposed to the idea of them building this. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 42.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Claudia Calderon, and I completely oppose to this project. My family and I have lived in the island for more than 18 years, and as many as the residents of the island know, we only have 2 ways to get out and get in from the island. So this is gonna be a complete nightmare for us. Also, for the record, no one from the Olson Company came to our door to talk to us. No one came, so you should guys look into it. If they really talked to everybody they were supposed to talk to. Also, about the parking. The parking has been a problem all this time for us, and I cannot even imagine how it's gonna be with all these 33 plus apartments or units right in front of our community. So I completely oppose. I cannot say it louder. We don't need those apartments there. There's enough people there, so we don't want those apartments. We oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 43.
Hello, my name is Richard Martinez. I lived on the island for over 40 years, and I oppose this project because of all the things that I've been hearing. And what I really like about going into that island, we've been living there for over 40 years, I can see the church. And I think that's a very good thing. And that's why I'm opposing it, because of all that. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 44.
My name is Robert Winkelpleck, a retired teacher of Griffiths Middle School. Been in Downey since 1968. Taught math, so statistics. I got on the computer, which I don't like, cross country, and I found that the average water usage for a unit for 2 people, 22 to 2,800 gallons a month. For some reason, they say water sewerage, so whatever. Add 1 more person, add 1,500 gallons. cars, sorry, but I counted cars last time, and I said the people said there was one car per 4 minutes, and I mentioned a horse and buggy. Well, when I left here, somebody said I wouldn't know the front end from the back end of a horse. And I thought, okay, 4 years old, I was put on a horse to pull a wagon with smudge pots. Okay, some of you may know and some of you don't. It was right next to Billy Goat Acres, Downey. I lived in Hunting Park. My grandfather brought me over here, and I rode a horse, 4 years old. Of course, when my grandmother found out about it, that ended my horse career after 2 rides. During the war, my dad died, and my mother remarried. My stepdad took me in 1946 to a cattle ranch in Oklahoma. So I was raised on a cattle ranch all my teen years until I went in the service. And that's a different story. So, but the car problem, I counted cars. On a Wednesday, a few weeks ago, I think maybe you might remember, 203 cars. This Friday at 6:30, 264 cars at the for 7 signal turns. So if they want to do their math and put units, I call it counting cars, like the gentleman over there actually saw it. So I'm opposed to the unit for those reasons, plus a few others. I don't think they've done enough actual understandable statistics. So yeah, maybe it'll help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker number 45.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Alan Andelon. I'm a resident of Downey, and I'm here to in favor of the Olson proposal. And I understand many of the concerns of the residents in the island that there's flow of traffic, issues with the Treasure Island Park, and some parking issues. But what really brings to light is these issues, and having the community there and the new Olson project is actually bringing all this stuff to light, and which have been issues for many, many years. I drive through that street many, many different times through Suva, and I do see the traffic, but now we're bringing this issue that should have been brought up many years ago, and it could potentially be a future project for the Planning Commission to maybe build some new roads, maybe widen some areas, or build alternative routes for the people in the island. So I see this as a blessing in disguise for the people that live in the island. That way, they have more attention to their community, the attention that should have been there a long time ago, because these are issues that should have been brought up. Now they're being brought up. So now people there especially building new communities, new families are going to be coming in. It's going to enrich the area. It's not going to make it poor. It's going to bring up the value, not bring down the values, because now you're going to have more families coming in, more housing, more people being able to buy properties in Downey that previously haven't been able to. And I have family that live in the area. I've been in that area many times. And I understand the concerns of many of the residents of, maybe homeless people there. But at least now we could bring this to light. And again, the proposal that's been brought up by Olson looks very good. It's going to enhance the neighborhood, being able to build upon more families there. And I know that there was traffic there because of the church already there. So I really don't think building 33 units is really going to hinder the community. It's only going to enhance the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that was 45, so now we would be on 46.
Hi, my name is Javier Almazan. I live on the island. I've been there almost 27 years, but I've been a resident of Downey for almost since 1976. So I've been here a long time. See how Downey has changed. I actually spoke to Steve. We had sat down and we had a little bit of drink to talk about what's going to happen there. And I heard his proposal. I'm not in agreement with the proposal that Olson's proposing on the construction. I defer on certain things. A lot of things have been said here, parking. It could bring a different type of issues to the community, not only an impact, but also what I see, I've been noticing everything I've been hearing, $35,000, that's what's proposed to help out the island or the park or anybody else in that area. Nothing else is going to be addressed at the island. Nothing else is going to help. A lot of things have to challenges, also the privacy, more cars in the vicinity, more traffic, more congestion. For me, it's just the quality of life. It's going to change completely there on Little Island. Having so many homes, so many people there in and out. It's to me, it sounds like a little bit of a joke. It says, well, you can park there. Some of the parking spaces, I don't know if I heard right, it was 2-car garages, but one behind the other, in front of each other. I don't know if that's understood what I understood. No one's gonna wanna park their car there, get your car out of the way, because I need to go to work in the morning. They'll just rather leave it outside in the street. That way I have easy access to get out. I don't know how that's gonna work. But also 5 parking spaces for guests. On 33 homes, only 5 people are gonna come visit. I mean, nobody's gonna come visit you. And it's also a closed community, because nobody else can walk in there unless you live there. It's gated. That's what I understand. They'll be protected, nice and taken care of. But the rest of it just asks that people come and visit you, but you can't. Where are they gonna park? Outside, if there's no parking? Forced to. So that's not gonna change the city. But from what I understand and from what I can see, none of the residents of the island are for this project. The majority of them oppose it. That's gonna affect the community. It's gonna affect it in all ways. And if you go to work in the mornings, like I have to go to work, it takes time. I have to travel towards Downey, not towards Bell Gardens. And I travel towards there. Every single stop that you get, not only on Guatemala, Wiley Brook, and the next street would be another stop, and then you get to the schools of Price. And if you get there through the morning, it's even worse. You know, you get all that traffic. What happens? Same thing when people come from the city of Bell Gardens. They come there. Instead of kind of go through Suva, because they want to cut across and see the lights, they'll cut through River Grade, go around Glen Cliff, come around Bluff, and try to beat the light through there. That impacts me because I live in that community, and people are flying through, coming through as fast as they can to get to the light. You can't even walk and cross the street because people are coming so fast through it, making that turn at a high speed because they want to beat the light. So what I can understand is that the impact that it's going to have in the community is great. Maybe you don't see it because you don't live there or you're not facing that type of situation, but the ones that do live there have to live with that, and it's only going to be an impact
you,
for
sir.
the community.
Speaker number 47.
Hi. I
Good
met
evening.
Commissioner Irma at the church. I appreciate my name is Jeff Kirchhoff. I appreciate speaker number 31 thanking the church for opening it up as a community meeting. Number 38 to also thank the church. I don't see you here. And number 43 for the traffic situation, addressing it. Some of you know me. I've been at the church since 1973. Longer than most people in this place. I've dealt with citizens here. I've dealt with the Planning Commission. Mostly it was not in a good context. But I do believe my voice needs to be heard. And just to be clear, I'm not in favor and I'm not in opposition to the project. I'm here to give you something to think about. I've been at that church since 1973, okay? So then I've been a part-time resident of the city of Downey since 1973. I've seen the traffic. I commute to go to church. We've held meetings. We know about the problems we had in the city at the park. And we had to have a meeting. So one of my other colleagues organized a meeting. We called it Unity in the Community. And the island people were exceptional. We were interviewed by all kinds of other counties because of the success of the community working together. And some of you remember, and it was amazing. And I think it's great for the community to work together. I've been in that community. I've walked the streets. I've been on the island. I've been walking back and forth to Downey, and I feel I need to say something. The person who was introduced as the owner, he's not the owner. He's the pastor of the church. He's my son. I pastored the church since 1978. And I think I have something to say to the Planning Commission and to the citizens of Downey. I have not met these people. I've only heard their name. I don't know any of them, except for tonight. I want to tell you this, though. My son has a vision. He has a vision for the church as it is on the island. And his vision does not include staying in the city of Downey. I want you to think about that. That wasn't my vision. I've been here. I retired due to medical reasons in 1917. But I want you to think about this. That property is going to go to somebody else. I could not think of a better people that I heard about tonight, introduced to, as this group of people. Think about that.
Thank you, sir.
Very much. Please pray for the project. We do.
Speaker number 48.
Good evening. My name's Angelina Heredia. I've been living on the island since I was 5 years old. So I've seen the changes there. But putting this, these townhomes, everyone says low income, low income. Downey's not low income. We know it, right? The island averages $800,000 per house. They're only offering 3 low income houses. So I don't know how they're confusing all these younger people that were for it because they say it's low income. They're going to be out of price range. So it is a good plan. We do need more housing. Maybe they should do it on the south side of Downey by, that open land by the courthouse. Oh, that, yeah, put it over there. It'll be lower. Yeah, exactly. Put all the housing over there. It'll be lower cost. We'll get all the housing numbers we need. So much land right there not being used. So how about let's move it that way? Because I do agree we do need the housing. Sounds great, but it's in the wrong location. So I'm against this.
Thank you. Speaker number 49. 49. Okay, we'll go to speaker number 50.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel. Not only am I opposed to this, but I'm a resident of Downey, but I'm a resident of the island. It's not just, I don't live around the area. I am impacted by this. People say, oh, we need more housing, we know this. Yeah, we do, but not there. As is, when we turn into the island, we're gonna see a ton more cars there parked there. To get through there, they'll stop. They'll just cause more traffic trying to get into my house. It's one of those things where it's just, right now it is the traffic, but I live with that already. I've been living there for 24 years. So I've lived with that already. But to just add more to it is just ridiculous. I know they want to make money. They say low income houses, which is only those 3, right? The rest of them, 800,000, 900,000. The ones that sold up there were over $1 million, okay? So we shouldn't call it a low income at all, okay? Just those 3. They just want to say we only have 3 low income houses, that's fine. But for them to say we're building low income housing, it's not correct, okay? I mean, they gotta do better. You gotta find a different place for them to build, okay? It's just one of those things, and to propose making the streets bigger, that's going to create more of a traffic jam. That's not the solution. I mean, just adding more vehicles, more people, and the island itself, it's not going to work. It's something that I'm opposed to. It's something that the residents around me were opposed to. If I tried to attend I not only tried, I did attend every single one that they had for this planning commission. If I would have known the one on Sunday, which I didn't know, they said they put up signs. I drive there every single day, 2-3 times around there. I didn't see any signs. We got a letter, the day before, I didn't have time to open up a letter. They should have emailed us, which they had my email, and they didn't let us know and some of us go to church between 10 and 12, which they had their meeting at in the city of Bell. I mean, come on. They made it as inconvenient as possible for us to go up there. So only 22% showed simply because it was inconvenient for everybody. I mean, they should have gave us at least a couple weeks notice, make sure we gather everybody around. Because I spoke to the people around my neighborhood, they didn't even know about it. So just to put that in your ear that nobody really knew about this meeting that they had on Sunday, because no one was really informed correctly. So I am opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
hearing me out.
Speaker number 51.
Hello, my name is Stephanie. I live on Foster Bridge. I've lived there all my life, and I am opposed of this project. My grandma's also lived there since 1984, and she's also opposed to this project, and my dad as well. I went to school to Maud Price, and walking to school and going back, there's a lot of traffic, and like a lot of students are also in danger with all the cars. Sometimes people will zoom through Suva and like missing that stop sign on Wiley Brook. And it's a really scary thing when I'm walking with my dad to school and seeing all these people like just coming in and just driving really fast. Even when there's traffic, people are like speeding. So I think the more people that are living there will create a lot more traffic and a lot more danger for students who are walking home. And also, in terms of affordable housing, I'm all for affordable housing. It's just that what I'm hearing is that it's not affordable housing. There's only 3 houses that are going to be affordable, and from my understanding, there's like you can avoid that with a fee, I'm assuming. So yeah, that's the reasons why I am opposed to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 52. 52. Good evening.
Good evening, all. My name is Arturo Mock, and my address 6731 Dos Rios Road, corner of Glencliff and Dos Rios, right in that yellow house, and 10 plus year living in the island. And I'm not as eloquent as my neighbor, Carlos Gomez, Michelle Martin, my compadre, Jose Delgado. But one thing I want to say that please, please, please listen to the Treasure Island residents, also company. Please listen to us. That's it. I'm truly opposed to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 53.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marcela Gomez, and I am a business owner on Florence. I am also a homeowner on Guatemala and Suva. This is my neighbor. We've come across together when I walk my dog. I oppose the project because I'm worried about safety. There's a lot that happens in that area. We have the riverbed, and there's lots of transients at night. If there's more cars at night, I'm worried. I'm worried for safety because there's not a lot of lighting on Guatemala. Guatemala is very, very dark. And so just imagine, we have more cars and there's not enough lighting. As it is, people are going through our trash. People are always, my car alarm is always going off because they're on their bicycles, driving by, opening cars, hoping that the doors are open. So that's why I oppose this project. Oh, also, I never received any notifications, any outreach towards me, and I have a business on Florence, so that's why I oppose this project.
Thank you. Speaker number 54. Okay, I guess that's it. All right, thank you, all of you, for coming up and speaking. Does the applicant wish to come up for some rebuttal time?
Thank you very much. And I greatly appreciate the input of the entire neighborhood. As I mentioned, and as Steve mentioned, we've been talking to the neighbors for a year. We've spoken to 480 island residents over that period of time. We've been out to the neighborhood 70 times. The overwhelming concern is traffic. We share that concern. It exists, and things need to be done. And certainly, if Olson's project is approved, we want to see that happen too, because our buyers are going to want to see traffic improved in that area. We also share the concern with on-street parking and overflow parking. And the comment we made early on was that because of new state legislation in the past 10 years, the ironic thing that's happened is R1 properties now can contain and do contain more units and more density than what Olson is proposing this evening. So we have a situation where by asking for a zone change and going through this extensive CEQA process and outreach and trying to work to make this a better community, to protect the privacy of individuals, in doing that, we are asking for a zone change that requires your full discretionary review. The ironic thing is what it will do is de-intensify what can be built on that site. And what's going to get built is a residential project. It's zoned residentially. It will not be a church because the church has been trying to sell the property for a while now, and we're not able to come to any terms with the potential church because it's an existing non-conforming use. So it's going to be developed residentially. The question is, how is it going to be developed? And the most economically beneficial options were laid out this evening. Either 13 lots with, we feel, 39 ADUs, and we can discuss that and why we feel very strongly it's 39, which would make for 52 total units. But even if it's 39 units, only 20 parking spaces would be required for that entire development. We are proposing 33 for-sale units with 71 parking spaces. Will we need, or will our residents need to park on the street occasionally? Of course. Will there be events? Will there be a graduation get-together or a Christmas get-together? Of course. But on a day-to-day basis, that's over 2 cars per home versus 20 from 39 to 52 units. That means every night under those other scenarios, the streets will be filled with cars. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. And so our appeal and the reason we are proposing what we are is we do think this is the best solution and will create the most value for the neighborhood. And just wanted to answer a couple questions quickly. The monthly dues are about $350, which will generate about $144,000 for the HOA and for the maintenance of the community. And that's regulated by State Department of Real Estate. So there are very stringent laws about that. Also, we've talked extensively with the neighbors, especially those across Foster Bridge, about things that we could do to protect their privacy. You've heard this evening about the many things we're going to do with additional trees, window coverings, et cetera. We did have conversations over the course of several months with those 4 property owners. That ended in the month of January. They didn't want to meet anymore to talk about those options, which is their prerogative. We would love to sit down with them and to continue to discuss if there's anything we could do on their property to help out. So just wanted to let you know that, as well as the gentleman who lives 3 doors to the north who has that concern, 20-foot grade differential. We are doing the enhanced trees on the north also, so I would love to meet with him to go over that. Just wanted to clarify some of these items, just to reiterate the options that are before the Planning Commission, and that we truly feel that the impact of this residential community is less, significantly less when you look at parking, for instance, than the alternatives. For 100% for sale, not 2/3 or 3/4 rental, much better parked, and we thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my fellow commissioners, now would be the time that if we have questions for the applicant, we can ask, because if we don't, I will be closing the public hearing and then we won't be able to ask questions of the applicant. So does anybody have a question? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. Whoops. Now is the time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Thoughts, comments?
Yeah, Madam Chairperson. First of all, I'd like to commend everybody for coming out, residents, developer, the applicant, the property owner. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and speak your mind, and I applaud you for that. Also, I do want to commend the developer for maximizing the use of this site. It's a very nice project. I like the appearance of it, the way it looks, the way it's going to be developed there at that site. But also keep in mind that maximizing the site is not necessarily the best plan for the site. We have a density factor here that we're talking about, going from 8 units to the acre to a maximum of, I believe, 25, 26. Is that what the density is now? That doesn't mean that you have to have 26 units to the acre as density. There's in between. You can go to make it work. And we all know, we heard about economics. Now, economics is not a factor that we consider when we're looking at land use matters. But nonetheless, we know that the property value's worth is based on what the project can yield, or what the project is going to develop. The more units, the more you're going to pay for the land. The less units, the less you're going to pay for the land. So I'm kind of somewhat concerned that the property owner left, so you can hear that. Because again, if let's say we go to a project that's made 20 units, we know that the value of the land is going to be based on that. So the economics are going to fluctuate and then proportionally, fall into place. Looking at the project and hearing all the concerns, parking is an issue. We get that all the time. For the first time, I'm going to get ADU done on my block, and I'm waiting for the impact of the parking on the street. And we all move in a single-family area because we enjoy the low density in the neighborhood. And unfortunately, the state has gotten in a position where I'm going to call this unfunded mandates with imposing things on cities to do. And in a sense, they've killed the idea of single-family development or single-family neighborhoods. And that's something that they're doing, and we have to go with that. Now, the state doesn't really look into what's good planning, what is good design, maximizing projects. Usually is it a compromise to design and good efficiency of the use itself. And parking is usually the one that's kind of gets compromised in a development of this nature. And ADU is another story. I appreciate the fact that the Sage Crest gave us those numbers, and the developer gave us his rendition of that as well. And yeah, we can look at scenarios, potential scenarios, theoretical scenarios, what they could do. And on paper, yeah, it does seem like it's upside down, and it is going to be a bigger impact in any aspect. But nonetheless, looking at the development itself, looking at parking for number one. The buildings that are proposed is 4 buildings, and there's a total of 15 tandem parking units. And I say this from experience. I worked on the project in another city where that tandem unit has become a problem. The residents that are there don't use the parking because of the inconvenience of having to move the cars and situating yourself, so forth. And this particular project, they came to position to the point where they want to park in the fire lane because they don't have enough parking, for that. So that's something to consider as we deliberate. And looking at the project, if we were to do away with all the tandem units, we're looking at a project of 24 units as opposed to 33. And what I would like to see us do, perhaps, if we go in that direction, is work our way backwards, go with 24 units possibly, and put in proportion the affordable units, the density bonus and so forth, and factor it that way. And like I said, it's unfortunate that the property owner left, so you can hear that the value of the land is going to be based on what could ultimately be done on that site. So those are my initial comments, Madam Chair, and I can elaborate more as we hear more from the other commissioners.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Lujan?
Yeah, the parking definitely is an issue. I know with homeowners associations, they do enforce the parking that they have to park their cars in the driveway and their parking in the garages. For the most part, I think these type of homes are basically from the aspect of I'm in education and our schools right now are declining in enrollment, but actually these kind of homes is actually going to spearhead more for the younger generations where they're not having kids. It's usually a couple with pets instead. The tandem parking, I think that because they're driving electrical vehicles, I think that might not be a big factor on the people that are buying these homes. And just keeping their cars, they don't collect clutter like us older generation people. We collect stuff and put stuff in our garages. These younger kids don't buy excessive stuff. And so I think the parking inside the homeowners association, because they do enforce, knowing from family members that live in homeowners associations, they do enforce the parking. They have to park their cars in their garages. The tandem, it could be inconvenience for us, but the younger kids, it's not a problem for them. Especially if it's newer homes, they don't have to worry about any upkeeping of the lawns because the homeowners association will take care of all that for them. I think definitely, parking outside in the streets, it's something that if the city moves on having parking permits for the residents, that might help them as well. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking of. It could help the project, helping the residents have parking permits so that they are the ones parking in the street, not visitors for the units of the complex.
So do you mean like with a Public Works preferential parking?
For the residents.
For the residents.
And by the way, thank you for the residents for being here and staying with us. I know it's late. Definitely, all of us are here to make sure that your voices are heard, and we do take into account everyone's voice, whether you're opposed or against it. So we do commend you and thank you for doing that. So that'll end my part right now.
Okay, great. Commissioner Saikali.
Yeah, I have a few comments. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of opposition and a lot in support of this project. There's a lot of issues at hand. There's a parking issue, traffic issue, safety issue, vandalism, graffiti, you name it. Most of these vandalism, graffitis happens wherever we have apartment buildings, where the homeowners not actually own the place, but they rent the place, and they don't care about the property or anything else. This project will provide homes for a lot of people. You have a house, you have a beautiful home in the Treasure Island. They like to have a share of that. They like to have a home in a nice neighborhood. And when you try to deny them that, why? Because of the traffic issue? Well, that's not the company's problem. That is the city's problem. The parking, that's not the company's problem. That is the city's problem. Is it going to add a little bit of traffic to the project or to the streets? Yes, it will. If this developer walks away, somebody else is going to replace him. And we're going to have the same problem all over again. And it could be worse. They could be having apartment buildings. Get a zone change if they can. I doubt if they can, but nonetheless, you're going to have somebody else in this place. Having these homes will beautify the area, will cut down on vandalism. And you say, how does that happen? Because people who live there is going to be watching everybody walk in the streets. They can see. With that, I would suggest to have the city take a look at some of these intersections in question, take a look at the flow of the traffic to ease this condition. And why not allow people live in a nice neighborhood just like you are? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to share my thoughts. We are all appointed to the commission as pure volunteers. We all bring to the dais different ideas and thoughts on each item that appears before us. We are Downey residents just like you. I, myself, am a lifetime Downey resident. I'm lived here, I'll admit it, 59 years. And I have seen many changes throughout the city in my 59 years of living here. I'm always happy to see when the chamber room is filled with residents who come to express their thoughts and their concerns about a given project. As Councilmember Fermetta always says, engaged communities are strong communities, and I really believe that. I strongly believe that tonight's attendance proves that as well. Having said all of that, we now must make a decision based on our staff report, the input from the applicant, and of course the input from the community. I must admit, I've struggled with this decision and what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, but I wanted to keep an open mind and hear the presentation that was brought forward tonight for us. My decision must be based on what's best for the community and obviously what's best under the current laws of our state. And like some of my commissioners have stated, the laws have changed a lot in the last few years. And it's definitely not the same single-family residence friendly. Now we're supposed to increase our homes in any given city, and it creates a problem. Downey residents, we're used to this small, great little community where everybody knows everybody, and it's been safe for all these years. Well, that's changing because of current laws that's been mandated. We have a church that wants to sell their property, and they have every right to sell their property and go on to another adventure in another location or whatever it is that they want to do. We have a developer that's willing to buy this property, and they're willing to build 33 units and sell these units to prospective homeowners, not tenants, not anything else but pure homeowners. Do I feel that this is what's best for this specific property? I'll admit, probably not. 33 homes, no, I don't think that's what's best for this property. But somebody will buy this land, just like my commissioners have said, and somebody will develop it. So we need to think about, what is that going to be? We're going to probably be dealing with the same issues with any other future project. So our decision is tough tonight. I will admit it is very tough. All right, that concludes my comments. Commissioners. What is the pleasure of the Planning Commission? Do we have a motion? Where are we on this?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and adopt PLN 230035, General Plan Amendment, Zone Change, Site Plan Review, Tentative Tract Map, and Density Bonus.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve PLN 23-0035, General Plan Amendment, Zone Change, Site Plan Review, Tentative Tract Map, Density Bonus. May we have a vote, and we will be voting electronically.
Chair, I just want to clarify, does the motion include staff's requested modifications to the resolution as presented tonight and placed on the dais?
Yes.
And furthermore, I just want to clarify if the motion includes all three resolutions.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Rita.
to.
Go ahead.
Motion fails, 2-2.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, if I will, if I may.
Make a friendly
make a-
amendment or something?
I'll make a substitute motion that we approve with the following changes, that we, building one have a total of, a total of 9 units with no tandem units. Building two have 6 units with no tandem. Building three left as is with 5 units, that doesn't have any tandem in it. And building four have 4 units with no tandem, total of 24 units. Only because that alleviates some of the parking issues where the tandem issue goes away. The other concessions that we're giving as a result of the density bonus component, they are what they are, as far as reducing the guest parking, and which is also concerned as well. But I don't know if we're going to get into, as I do agree with Commissioner Lujan, as far as maybe in the future there will be some sort of parking park permits to allow for residents and so forth, and maybe for guests. That'll be my substitute motion.
And does that include the affordable housing component?
Yeah, all that will be put in place. Well, up to the developer who wants to pursue affordable. He has to pursue the inclusionary housing because that's a requirement of the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have a second?
I just want to clarify, are you suggesting to have 24 units instead of 33?
Correct. And I broke it down by building.
Okay, so are you going to maintain our 60, same amount of parking spaces?
Well, it'll be 2 per unit, so that'll be, whatever that amount is, 2 per unit. And the guest parking, let's say as proposed under the density bonus.
I see that you've stood up, but the public hearing is closed. So we have to make a decision. Do we want to reopen it? Do you want to speak? Is that why you're standing?
Yes, ma'am. I have another suggestion that you made.
Through the chair, with regard to Commissioner Morales's substitute motion or new motion to reduce the number of units per his description and also to remove the number of tandem parking garages. Just to note for discussion for the commission in their deliberation that the site plan review resolution and all of the conditions of approval and reviews by staff related to the Development Review Committee have been completed with the site plan and the layout proposed by the applicant. For example, the ingress and egress, the turning radiuses, the utility planning, the landscaping, and including the mitigated negative declaration has been analyzed specifically for the site plan and layout of the project. What is being proposed by the commission as a potential motion would require a re-review of the entire project, and that would also mean that the applicant would be amenable to that type of change and to undergo the site plan review process with staff that has been referenced during today's meeting that has taken approximately 12 months to complete. So I just wanted to provide you that information for your continued discussion. Thank you.
I think in this case here, the impacts are less. I mean, so like for example, the amount of landscaping won't change. The percentage, because the site's not getting reduced, it's not increased, it's the same. There'll be less traffic based on less units. The impacts are less. So it'd be different if we were increasing, going from 33 to, let's say, 40. Then I could see, yeah, the current analysis no longer is applicable. In this case here, it's a reduction of what we analyzed.
So I would just like to point out to my commissioners that if we leave it the way it is right now, that it does, the motion didn't carry, I believe it still goes to city council
That's correct.
for their recommendation. So,
That's correct.
Chair, I would just add that the motion failed to achieve a majority of vote, which, as the secretary has pointed out, means that it does not carry. It does not mean that the motion was denied. It just didn't mean that the motion
Correct.
carried. That means that there was no action taken by the Planning Commission on the matter. That's the effect of that vote tally.
okay, thank you for that clarification.
So there will be no recommendation or other action by the Planning Commission that will proceed to the City Council.
Oh, okay. Because it didn't carry.
That's correct.
Okay.
For further clarification through the chair, if I may extend on the comment that I was providing, the mitigated negative declaration was circulated for public review as described by the project planner, Mr. Hernandez, and so modifications and changes to the project, including what was referenced by Chair Morales, the unit count would be reduced, but it would also have the effect of procedurally having to revise the document to reflect the new project description, and also recirculated and modify any conditions. And also, as part of that, the city's review would also be completed, as I mentioned. And I'll mention again that that would also be assuming that the applicant would be amenable to going through that process of revising plans. And again, I don't mean these comments to contradict any commissioner specifically, but rather to allow you to deliberate all aspects of the motion. Thank you.
So on that note, Madam Chair, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
We're back to the other one that we didn't pass.
Okay, so I guess we are left with the motion not being carried forward. And I believe that, okay, do you want, okay. Commissioners, can I have just a verbal yes? Are you willing to reopen the public hearing so that we may allow the applicant to? You agree? Okay, go ahead, come forward, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I greatly appreciate that. We know that originally we were going to come to the Planning Commission in February, and we asked for more time to do more community outreach, work on these mitigation measures, which I think has proved very fruitful, but it's also been frustrating for the neighbors, and I know they appreciate the meeting tonight. We knew that you wouldn't be at full strength tonight, that there would be 4 of you here, but we still, we're very comfortable moving forward this evening. Given obviously this is a very difficult decision, given that, this is split right down the middle, I would also just ask that you consider continuing the item until May 1st, when you'll be at full strength. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, so what is our answer to that, City Attorney or Irma?
Through the chair, I just want to clarify that the public hearing is now reopened, so anyone else that may want to provide public comment is also has the opportunity to do so since the public hearing has been reopened.
Great, thank you. Mr. Heyman, you may come forward.
Thank you all for giving so much of your time this evening and hearing all of the concerns of the residents and the Olson Company team that's here tonight. I think it's a fabulous project and that it really should go forward. And I think it would be, you would not be doing a service to your council, our council, by kicking this to them. So I would propose, as the developer has, that they be allowed to come back May 1st when you have a full planning commission. Mr. Guerra is absent today, so that you are less likely to be in a situation where there's a tie vote here. I really think this needs to be settled here first at the planning commission level. And so that would be my ask here, is that you support the Olson project team's request that they come back again when the full planning commission is here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll just clarify. Items are usually continued before they are acted upon, before they are voted upon. This matter has been voted upon and therefore is not eligible to be continued.
That was my
ordinarily.
comment. They could have done it
If it was the
before.
pleasure of the commission or the applicant to have the matter continued, the appropriate time would have been before the vote.
Yeah, I agree. That's correct. So that's not an option.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Sure, the public hearing is still open.
My concern
The
isn't
public
so
hearing, I
much for the
believe, is
project,
still
as I
open or
mentioned before.
closed?
It's for the.
I didn't close it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, not a problem. I'm not really opposed to it. What I'm opposed to is the traffic level. And they said on the thing that there was 11,000 transits going across the bridge. I think that's way understated. I've lived there for 40 years, and I'd have to say it's much more than that. I don't know what mechanism they used. The biggest problem that I have is just trying to get out of my driveway. And I have if you're interested, I have like a 10-second video that I heard originally that this place was going to, that you were going to do this on the 31st of January. And I'd heard a day or two beforehand. So on the 30th of January, as I was walking out to my car about 4:30, I just took a quick scan, pan to the right, pan to the left, and I can either show you the video or or I can just describe it to you. But basically, there were cars lined up past the bridge that were going, what direction is that? East. And on the other side, there were cars coming from 3 different directions, as Elias had mentioned earlier. And it's extremely difficult for me to get out of my driveway in that condition. And it's even worse if there are cars parked on Suva Avenue in front of my property, because that's a great place for them to sell cars. So I'd say maybe 50% of the time there's a car there. If there's a car there, I have to be aggressive when I try to pull out of my driveway. Otherwise, I'm going to sit there 10 or 15 minutes.
Sir, I'm just
because the
going
cars
to
just
add
won't
that
stop.
the public comment period has been had and the Planning Commission has deliberated on this item and it's now closed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you.
All right, so I guess we move on with our agenda to non-agenda public comment. Were there any? There were none. Okay, great. Are there any items from the consent calendar?
There are none, Madam Chair.
Is there any other business?
Just for members of the public, when this item is forwarded to the City Council for their consideration, another public notice will be sent out in the similar manner that we did for this meeting.
So it will allow the residents to come forward through a public hearing? Correct, okay.
Can I make one brief recommendation?
1 second, does the Community Development Director have any additional comments?
None at this time.
The meeting is adjourned at 9:59. Oh,